It's October the 3rd of 2025, which means it is not a Wednesday, but it is a manga day. Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap, everybody. I am Nick with Quinn, and we're back at our not usually scheduled time to talk manga today.
Yes. The demand was too high, Nick. The people said, if you don't talk about Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest, I am going to set fire to just my immediate surroundings. And whatever happens, happens from there. You know, Wynn's going to pick it up and we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
So
I'm not saying I'm going to commit arson, but
I'm just saying I'm going to start a small fire and the wind happens to be blowing in the direction of your house. That's unfortunate. But thankfully, I think we could avert a lot of that by just giving them what they want, which is the sadistic joy of seeing us suffer reading manga, Nick, like we do frequently during Sadistic September.
Yeah, pretty much every year for about the past decade, we have been doing this. And I want to apologize and say that, guys, didn't really suffer in this one. I'm just kind of used to what this is at this point, which is kind of middle of the road fairy tale for what felt like a lot of it, for me at least. This is Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, which is storyboarded by Hiro Mashima, the mangaka of the original long-running, very popular Fairy Tail that has been a feature in some form or another on Weekly Manga Recap for some time now. But it is illustrated by Atsuo Ueda, which makes sense when you consider that it has been going for several years now, including when Hiro would have been mostly occupied with, what was that series? I forget what it was called now.
Eden Zero, Nick. How could you
Eden
ever
Zero.
forget?
I kind of I was trying to forget about it so that I wouldn't have to relive some of this really stupid stuff.
What is that space series? It's not the good one. It's pretty bad, and they fly around a lot, and then they teleport or something, or go back in time. I don't remember, but it wasn't good.
What's that sci-fi space travel adventure series that was by the very popular shonen adventure mangaka? Wasn't nearly as good as its precursor.
Ooh, it is interesting you say that because it is drawn by a different artist. You would not tell, I think, for the large part. There's actually a pretty stunning. I was about to say a stunning closeness, but then I think actually the real answer is just Hiro's style is very simple, so it's not actually like insanely hard to kind of duplicate pretty well. You would be like easily forgive it if you were like, Hiro didn't draw this as well. And also Hiro is like an insane person who like will frequently draw like 3 chapters of a manga a week for like 2 months just because he's like, I've got a lot of extra energy. So it's interesting there. But yes, this is storyboarded by Hiro. Specifically, in the first volume, he reveals he did not want to do it. So that's always a great sign for a series.
It kind of makes sense when you consider the plot beats that the series follows, which are just like, I don't know, more fairy tale.
It really is. It's someone was basically just like, hey, did you enjoy Fairy Tail? Well, here's just more of it. Were you excited to see these characters grow and evolve? They're not going to. That you're just going to see them. You're going to see them beat up new things, basically.
Baby steps for a couple of them.
No.
Tiny, itsy bitty, tiny.
I am not counting Gajeel and Levy actually having a baby as character development. It is by far the most interesting thing that happens in Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, but it doesn't count as character development, to be clear.
Well, Quinn, but you got to think about, Happy gets a harem. That's character progression, right?
Cool. What my biggest complaint from the series was always, man, I wish Happy was on screen more. What a rich character that I want more of.
This series brought Plu back a couple of times, and I was like, really? You remembered Plu? Why? I am sure, if you are big into Fairy Tail and are more positive on it than we are, then this must be fucking candy for you. because it's fairy tale stuff. They go on adventures, they fight dudes, and Natsu and Urza win fights a lot, and other people are there. Lucy gets naked a number of times. There's more ship teasing in this one, I would say, than in original fairy tale by a little stretch.
Okay.
So if you're what? I'm saying there's a little bit more ship teasing.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I don't know who I would say they really ship together beyond nonsense. A couple characters eventually.
The obvious ones, Quinn. If you are a fan of canon pairings in fairy tale, there's a little bit on the table for you. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
I will fully admit, off the forefront of this was a very sadistic September in terms of reading this series. Was a deeply unpleasant experience that I very frequently had to do in my limited free time in my life. So there was nothing better than like finishing a full day of school, coming home, doing like housework, and then being like, cool, now for my free time, I'll read this series that sucks ass. But even I'm trying to remember a relationship that wasn't in the original fairy tale that they really pushed in this one.
I'm saying if you are already a fan of the really boring ships, then there's more of them now.
Okay, but so I did not finish this series. Do any of those pairings actually like canonically get together, or
the point, Quinn? That's not the point.
It should be.
You don't feed shippers by giving them what they want. You feed shippers by teasing them with what they want. Feeding them little morsels.
The one of the first arcs in this series has Gray learn a lesson of like, I should give a shit about Juvia a little bit more. Yeah. And it's almost heartwarming until you realize like the way that manifests is like he'll come in and he'll be like, "Hey, Juvia," and everyone around will be like, "Oh my God, Gray's so mature now." By the way, I'm just gonna start digging into the dumb of this. We have a lot of series to talk about, so I don't know if we're gonna spend a ton of time on this statistics September, but I do need to note the reason Gray has this moment of realizing how much he appreciates Juvia is because they have to travel to a different continent after finding out that like all the members of Fairy Tail are gone. Like they're just missing. No one's in the guild. And they're like, that's weird. We're going to go to this other place. And they get there and there's like a guild called like Fairy Sale or some nonsense like that. I can't remember. Yes. But everyone is just some duplicate of the cast of Fairy Tail. So
you might be asking, well, hold on. Didn't we do this already?
Yes.
Yes. It's okay though. We'll go back there too.
I was gonna say this is not the only time we will see alternate versions of these characters. But yes, this is different than Eldelas, but it's the same joke. It's like, hey, here's the concept of the character shifted slightly, and all the members are there. And at this point, we don't really know what happened to the members of Fairy Tail. So there's like kind of this interesting moment of like, are these like there's members of the core cast who have like duplicates there, but everyone else you're like, is this actually just Juvia in disguise? Like everyone looks identical to them. And there is this moment where Juvia is revealed that she is a topless dancer in this version of Fairy Tail.
It's really weird because everyone in Fairy Sale is some manner of celebrity, and there's like very wildly different types of celebrity. There's like famous movie star, and then there's like Gray is and there's like one of them is a porn star. It's like, all right, that's
interesting.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's bad, but it's very strange that they're like put like in the same realm as each other.
Yes. But it's worth noting within this guild itself, the Juvia and Gray analogs already have kind of like a chemistry of some sort. So a moment happens where Gray gets to be alone with this alternate version of Juvia, and they just get to share a little bit of a back and forth. And she kind of like hints at something, like maybe let's like do something together, like, oh, would you like to see, like my breasts or something like that? And he turns it down because he's like, no, I've someone I'm interested in. And, she's like, that's fine. I wouldn't do it for free anyway, that kind of thing. Jokes, starts walking away, then turns around and goes like, hey, big boy, and just like whips open her shirt. And Gray's like, what? And then the scene just continues a couple seconds longer because we get like that. There is like supposed to be a moment there of like actual like a heart touching moment because Gray realizes in that moment this is not Juvia because when she opens her shirt, he realized she doesn't have the scar that he gave her. And I was like, oh, that's kind of sweet. I don't know why she had to open her top to do that, but whatever. And then it carries on just a little bit forward until someone's like, yeah, she's not a topless dancer.
She's not a topless dancer. That'd be ridiculous.
And you're like, well, then why did she take her top off?
It's makes the scene even weirder. It's this very odd, like, oh, but she's not a slut. It's like, well, wait, but I'm confused now. I thought that she was like.
I just don't understand why she took their top off. Then what was her goal in all of this? It made sense a little bit when she is a topless dancer, but when you're like, no, she's something completely different. You're like, then why did she take her top off?
No, she would never do something so scandalous as take her top off for a stranger. But he is a stranger.
No, like, he looks exactly like her boyfriend, so it's not weird.
It's not. That's definitely a thing that doesn't make it weirder than it already is.
And then, as you mentioned, this arc is then followed up shortly thereafter by going back to Aeolus, and you're like, what? We already did this riff, this manga. Like, I was willing to give Fairy Tail a pass, because I was like, well, you know, Aeolus was like 12 years ago at this point. Like, you could do it, you could run it back, I guess, slightly different. But then they just go back to Aeolus. I'm like, well, guys, now this is where I start to have real concerns.
Look, it's definitely not a series that is devoid of fairy tale stupidity.
It's full of it.
I think that the thing that actually frustrated me the most was that there would be moments that were obviously supposed to be like big and important because, you know, it's like, oh, a hero is beaten down and stuff. And then they have a moment where they dig down and they find that determination within themselves in order to get a big power up and shonen up and punch the bad guy. And they accomplished this in one arc, the Wood Dragon arc, the same way 3 times, which is by having a character basically beaten into unconsciousness or a near-death state and being visited by either a vision or the spirit in some way of someone we thought was dead. And that happens with fucking Natsu, with Wendy, and then just cause Jalal. Jalal's not a main character in this, and he gets one too.
It's astonishing. So yeah, there's I guess we should explain the premise very quickly. The idea is that there is this ancient sort of famous quest. It's a quest that's never been able, because if you remember, there was actual like world building to Fairy Tail at one point in time. Like guilds picked on jobs and like there were levels. There was a whole mechanic to it. But now it's just like, hey, there's a job we need to do. There's this really rare job where no one's been able to do it in 100 years, and you can't get to know anything about it until you agree to do the quest. Like once you, once you agree to do it, you're like locked in. You can't like back out. And the job is to quote unquote seal 5 ancient dragons. Seal being intentionally vague because who knows what that could mean. You could maybe get rid of their power. You could kill them. Who knows? So that's the goal of this series, is to defeat 5 dragons. And I will say, as far as I read through, they stuck pretty closely to that plot. Basically, the moment one dragon was down, they're like, all right, on to the next one. And they would do it. But the wood dragon in particular is such an infuriating arc. Because one, it does something we've already done in Fairy Tail before, where everyone has to fight mind-controlled Fairy Tail. So it's like, whoa, what's going to happen when Gray has to fight Laxus's group? And like, what's going to happen when Urza has to fight against Jalal and stuff like that? And you're like, we did this already. What do you think? We've done this, I think, multiple times now.
What really gets me about it is that whole thing has almost nothing to do with the dragon at all.
No!
There's this 3-way battle that is happening between the main core group of Fairy Tail heroes, which this was really frustrating, actually. The group that goes on the 100-year quest is just the main characters from Fairy Tail. There's not a single character that gets added in that you wouldn't expect. It's Natsu, Lucy, Gray, Wendy, and Urza and their sidekicks.
Yeah,
Like,
and I want to note something really quick. So this series does not take place in any sort of time skip. It is kind of, I think, a little bit nebulously vague when this takes place after Fairy Tail. But if you were curious, no, Wendy still looks like she's 12. None of the characters have had design changes, have like changed at all in the period between the two series. Nothing is different. Like, it is straight on. The adventures continue, and this is like a personal hellscape where you're like, oh, it's just endless, mushy fairy tale adventure nonsense to consume forever. Oh, joy.
you got to make your money somehow, I guess.
I guess.
And that was the part that initially right away I was like, oh, it's just kind of the characters you would expect to be part of this group are just going on this quest. There's not, like, I don't know, have some newer member that you were just kind of getting to know in the previous one that looked like they were going to start to be a big deal. But no, it's all the same dynamics that you're used to, where it's like, oh, that character has got a thing going on, but they're still sidelined with the B squad. So it's like, yeah, like Gajeel and Levy are featured in this a little bit more because they're
they're the only good characters.
Right. A prominent B plot is that Levy is now pregnant and she and Gajeel are going to have a kid. And that's really just kind of like just a thing that's going on, though, that it's not really used as motivation very much beyond just like commenting on it every now and again.
There's a brief moment where Natsu is almost going to punch pregnant Levy right in the stomach and like it gets stopped and you're like, that was a little dark for a fairy tale moment. I was like, wait, is Natsu gonna like do something horrible right now?
It is kind of funny because it's surrounded by Natsu doing multiple examples of like, yeah, I will punch a woman. Because it's like, it's very important that I do this in order to save my friend, so I'm going to punch a woman, yes.
He's like, hey, it's not sexist if 3 of my friends are women. I'm hurting 1 woman to save 3 women. That's mathematically feminist.
By the
I ran the numbers.
The associative property of misogyny.
Yeah, I ran the numbers, and I'm basically Susan B. Anthony.
But like they do the same thing that they always do, which is like, oh man, Mira Jane's such a strong and cool character. Is she ever going to do anything? No, of course not.
Why would she?
No. She would then have to stop being the cool character who occasionally shows up to do nothing then if we did something with her. Come on. There's Laxus in this, and it's like he really only shows up like to have pointless badass moments where he looks really cool, but it doesn't accomplish a single goddamn thing.
I need to we gotta put a pin in that because I have to come back to a Laxus moment that infuriated me, but it requires me to explain another stupid character in this series, which it tangents off to another stupid group who keeps showing up in this series, by the way. There's a lot of dumb stuff that happens.
Yes. Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with that. But so Fairy Tail, the important guys are going on this 100-year quest, and they can't tell anyone about the quest that they're going on. And then the second of the 5 dragons that they're supposed to seal, the rest of Fairy Tail gets caught up in it anyway. And so, all right, it seems kind of pointless for everyone to not know about this now.
It does, but then also there are so many characters involved in that arc, and there are so many fights. There is a moment where the background characters of Fairy Tail got a fight, and I was so infuriated that I was like meant to care about these fucking characters for a moment.
That was infuriating for me for the exact opposite reason, because I was like, you always make a big deal about how huge Fairy Tail is and there are all these guys who never do anything, to the point that I can't even remember the jokes associated with them because they show up so infrequently. And they have a moment where they're like the last line of defense, and Wendy's almost out of magic power, so she uses her enhanced magic and gives them power ups, and they save the day by beating one of the like 5 generals of this dragon that they're fighting. And I was like, Fairy Tail should do this more often. Like, just have these nobodies do something.
Sure, if it was a more frequent thing, but in an arc that was already very long, there was a moment where I was like, am I sitting here with the 2 cowboy characters getting a fight? Like, I can't do this like, I have things to do. I have classwork. I have a life to live. But I need to pull us back a moment because I need to talk about this other stuff. And it first has to have me refer to, I do not remember the character's name, but she is the Blade Dragon Slayer, because
Right.
there is a separate guild in this universe called Diablos, I believe, which is all
Diabolos.
dragons. Diabolos. So they are all dragon slayers in this guild. And she is
They're
a blade.
dragon eaters.
Yeah.
So they
They eat
eat dragons
dragons
to
and
get
they get their
power.
powers. So this blade dragon can in her own words cut anything. And she is an antagonist in the first arc, and she fights Urza, and she uses her cutting powers to cut Urza's strength, which turns her into like a submissive slave pet girl for like 2 chapters for some reason. It's truly confusing. It was one of those like heroes like, hold on,
It's not confusing at all, Quinn.
yeah, I guess I should have known why it was in there, but it was one of those ones where it's like, perhaps another thing could have been done. But yes, there's apparently she can intangibly cut strength. I don't know what that means. Maybe it translates very poorly, but she can do that. It's her ability. She goes to fight Laxus at some point, and she's like, well, yeah, you might be strong, but it doesn't matter because I'm just going to cut your strength. And she goes to do it, and it doesn't work. And he's like, of course it won't work. I don't think I'm strong. I'm actually very weak. That's why I'm in Fairy Tale. And he like punches her into oblivion. I was like, fuck off. What does this even mean? It's the stupidest, corniest stuff.
Fairy tale did a fairy tale.
That's the thing. Like, part of me is like, you can't be upset. You know, this series is dog water most of the time. Like,
Absolutely.
you know. But at the same
I don't think these are good, but at the same time, I read that and I was like, oh, it's awesome.
yeah, exact opposite effect for me. I was like, this is so goddamn stupid. I hate this. Look, I don't really want to like dig too much into like super individual moments. As we said, we have a lot of manga to discuss today, but that is my main real complaint with this. It's like, look, I was never a big fan of Fairy Tale. That's, full transparency, honesty. I knew this wasn't going to be a series for me. That's partially why I put it as the backup. I was like, no matter what, I know I'll hate this. Even if Nick, for some reason, loves this, I know this is going to be miserable for me, and thus sadistic in September. But it truly is. I think it's just like my personal weakness. I cannot stand boring, worthless garbage, and that is all this is. Nothing interesting is being done. It's just more fights for the sake of fights. Maybe it's slightly better design-wise because the artist gets to kind of focus on that, and it's not really like, it doesn't seem like there's a ton of input on this individual because these story beats are pretty basic hero nonsense. So maybe it gets to look a little nicer. There's a lot of like use of Lucy's combo magic where she gets like combined two stellar spirits into an outfit, and I was like, that's kind of cool, like, because they're pretty weird out there things. Like, how do you capture Capricorn and Aquarius together or something like that? And they find cool ways to do that. But by and large, I found this to be deeply annoying to go through. But in the same way, if you loved Fairy Tale, I don't know why you're not reading it. Like, you should be devouring it now. Yeah.
I do think that there are parts of it that are definitely frustrating, especially when you consider that large parts of this hero was writing at the same time he was working on another series that getting more of his attention to it. So it feels like there's just kind of a just throw it down there and just get it out of the way. Also, like, what was the name of that one character in Eden Zero? There was the giant robot guy that had the little guy in his brain that was actually the mastermind to him. Remember, there was the world destroying guy, and then it turned out that one of the members of the good guy guild was actually a bad guy who manufactured bad things.
Not brain, piece or feather or something like that. I know you're talking about. Yeah.
So, my big problem with the Wood Dragon fight is that's how they solve it, basically. Is that like, oh man, how are we going to fight? Because the Wood Dragon, its whole thing is that it's resting dormant, and it is basically all the plant life in this miles wide area, and then it's unsealed and awakens, and there's just this huge leviathan that they have to fight. And Natsu tries punching it at one point, and he summons as much as he can into this big punch and punches the ground, and this little Sprout thing comes out and says you basically dealt 1 hit point out of 1,000,000 hit points damage to this thing. So if you keep on doing that, then yes, eventually you'll win. But I'm not gonna let that happen. But then it's revealed that like, oh, the way that the Wood Dragon is basically going to fight is just by having a bunch of small avatars appear all over its body. And it's like, well, then what was the point of making it a giant thing for them to fight? It's no longer interesting if you just go inside the thing and it's just the battlescape instead.
I just have an actually average size opponent I could very easily punch that kills the entire thing. That's very excellent. I enjoyed that so much.
Granted, I did think it was amazing when Brandish shows up and she uses her magnification powers and just makes Gajeel really big, and he uppercuts the dragon.
That was a kind of cool moment. But there are moments that are kind of cool in this, so I will give it that. There are a couple moments that are nice.
I think that Urza and Laxus actually have a really cool, brutal fight in the middle of this too. When there's when Fairy Tail, most of them are still hypnotized. They just beat the shit out of each other, and that was fun. They, again, pussy out of like, oh, we can't say who's actually stronger because they just both run out of magic power at the same time. It's like, fuck you. No. Just have someone win.
Laxus won, he was up longer. That's how the rules work.
Laxus won, but Urza won too.
Yeah.
You can't have her job to anybody.
I was going to say, I also enjoyed the fact that the series has to now reckon with the fact that sometimes characters are just broken. So there's an entire plot point where there's like a bad guy who could turn our characters into yokai. And they're like, how are we going to deal with this? Like, our friends are now monsters. And then they're like, actually, Wendy can just dispel them like a fucking video game. She can just get rid of that status buff. So this is supposed to be like a big, like 1-page scary panel of like Urza as like a spider woman with like 1,000 swords. And then Wendy just goes like snap and she's like, oh, I'm fine again. It's like, okay, fine.
I mean, like that arc also has people that like gain powers that aren't just new ways of punching, which was nice. Natsu gets this astral projection thing because he fights a ghost dragon user, and Wendy gets her separation magic thing. So it was like, hey, this is nice because like there's actually a thing of like our Fairy Tail mages are casting different types of magic instead of just the same type of magic that they always do, but in slightly different punching combinations. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like even if you enjoy Fairy Tail at the level that I do, which is this is garbage, but I am going to eat this popcorn, then it'll be like, hey, more popcorn showed up.
Me banging on the window. No, Nick! Nick, get out of there! Stop eating that popcorn!
We ate so many years of burnt popcorn with Eden Zero. It was nice to have just regular popcorn. Is it caramel popcorn the best kind of popcorn? No, but it's fairly good popcorn, and I will take that, even if the amount of butter and salt is not always the best, okay?
Yeah. To continue your popcorn analogy, I think both Fairy Tail, 100 Year Quest, and Eden Zero are both unpopped popcorn, but I guess this one, you still put seasoning on it, so I'm like, I guess it's slightly more edible than the non-seasoned one, I suppose. But I truly don't think either one is worth mentioning. It bugged me so much because of the first arc where they meet the water dragon. There's like the hot assistant girl for him. I don't remember her name and I don't care, but she wears like a mini skirt and she's her dutiful assistant. And it's like mentioned that she's the reason why this dragon learned humanity because he saved her. And I was waiting for like the story of that. They just never told it. They're just straight up like, hey, this is the reason these two characters have a connection. Goodbye. And like, this is mind-blowing to me, but I shouldn't have standards, I guess.
I mean, it's also a very questionable decision to have like, oh, we're going to go and we're going to stop all the dragons and stuff, and the first dragon that they come across is friendly. It's like, it's just so weird.
Oh, that's the other thing I need to mention. Two of the other members of that guild of Diabolos, they show up. The Ash Dragon Eater and the Armor Dragon Eater. They show up in the first arc. They beat, I forget who, like Urza and Gray or something like that. They get beat, but then like the heroes come back and then they kind of switch opponents and they kind of beat them. It's not like fully done, but they're like on the back foot. And the Ash guy is like, like, I'll get you next time, Gadget. And he like turns them all to ash and they fly away or whatever. It's Ash! Dragon Eater, not ass. Dragon Eater, that's a different series, but I'm also kind of surprised not in this. Those characters then show up again during the Wood Dragon arc. And like we've already kind
These
of
Team Rocket motherfuckers,
I was
they
like,
just
they're not very intimidating anymore because we've seen them kind of get their asses handed to them, but they're like trying to fight again and they're getting their ass handed to them again. And then the Ash guy is like, well, peace. It just like snaps and they turn to Ash in despair. It's like, if these motherfuckers show up a third time in this series, I didn't get far enough to find out, but I assume at some point they have to just get killed, right?
I think that was just literally a matter of Hero had this idea of like, what if I had an evil guild of all dragon slayers? And it was like, yeah, and then it just lost interest in making them interesting in any way because they're like
how
one of
could
the
he
three.
How could he do that to the guild master with the great name of George Raisin?
I never tried to pronounce his name out loud. I don't think that if you are looking into this hoping for it to be fairy tale but realized better than original fairy tale, no, that's an error and you should run away. If you understand what fairy tale is fully and truly in your heart and you're like, yeah, I would still like to try some of it, then that's the level you got to be aiming for.
Sure.
But yeah, if you have any lack of patience for that bullshit, then no, don't read this.
Yep. So that's our review of Fairy Tail: A 100-Year Quest. It was deeply compelling. It was awful. God, there's still technically a couple spin-offs of Fairy Tail we haven't read either, too. I think there's like a Gray spin-off, and I think there's a Sabertooth one. I don't even know anymore.
All right. Should we talk about a Magic series that's actually good, though?
Is there one? Nick, I don't believe that you can make a fantasy Magic series good at this point. No. Surely anything involving spells and witches of any kind, it's just bound to be a disappointment.
Ichi the Witch, 50-second hunt, freeze! Yeah, we're at a year of Ichi the Witch already. Amazing.
Wow, craziness.
So they're going after the time magic and protective barriers that Deskris summons so that they aren't affected by the strange pockets of space where stuff is frozen. And then when they descend, like they can just like stand on the water, Ichi standing on the sea because it's all completely frozen with the stoppage of time. So Deskris, as they're getting set to go onto the ship, says to Ichi, do you remember the mindset I told you for this hunt? And Ichi says, yeah, losing is a given, winning is a gift. And we get a bit of a breakdown on just how dangerous these epic magics are, in addition to just them being very, very powerful, is the fact that all of them can warp their environment, making them nearly impossible to reach, and they can catastrophically damage their surroundings. And so even approaching them is deemed very, very risky. And so there's not a lot of information that people have to go off of when it comes to the time magic. They know it manipulates time, and that is it. And multiple teams have gone to try and learn about it, and it just reverses time, so that makes it like they never even got near it at all. So that's a problem.
Seems pretty good. Seems like a pretty good power.
Deskris says they don't even know what the thing's trial is. They don't know if this is a human hater magic at all. But they know that it could be a useful tool against the world hater magic if they were to acquire it. So they get set to begin their hunt, get on the deck of the ship, which looks very weirdly decrepit because it is frozen in time. Jiki Shirane is just kind of like excitedly walking around going like, I bet this place is haunted. And of course, Kamugi is like, there's no such thing as ghosts, right, Ichi? But Ichi's not really paying attention because he and Gokuraku sense danger is coming. And they look towards a doorway that leads seemingly into the hold of the ship. And a hand emerges from it. A hand making, live long and prosper, but sideways sign.
I thought it was like the shocker, but then
I wasn't gonna say anything so crass.
It's too many fingers, I think. It's a lot. That's a trained shocker implementer.
Sailors fear the time magic. Not only do they refuse to sail near its seas, they also created a sea shanty warning against it. What's that sound, the rushing of the waves? What's that sound, the sighing of the wind? No, no, that is a whistle. One soft hoop and one ship sinks. Another soft hoot, another ship sinks. That is the voice of one who must never be heard.
Doesn't rhyme. It's not
really.
that catchy.
It's not a great rhythm to it.
Yeah, I don't think this one's gonna be picking up the TikTok trend like She Shanties did that brief window in like 2001 or 21.
The Chrono Weaver magic appears. Humanoid magic, who appears in the doorway and casts its arm to the side, which causes everyone to go flying off the ship and back onto the waves. They've just completely been kicked out by its reversal of magic, of time with magic. So Descaris gathers everyone together with Magneta, it just seems like, oh, sometimes you want to do that.
Yeah.
Just pull the people together. And then she summons Speed Ray. Look at this thing's face.
I love him. Oh my gosh. I hope we see Speed Ray all the time.
Everyone gets rocketed onto the ship. Ichi makes a very bad landing, just right on his scapulas, it seems like. And they get back on the deck, and Descaris notes the difference between the watch she left on the deck and Mugi's watch, and sees that there's a 15-second difference, and notes like, you stopped time for us. So she's like, yeah, you're really cheaty, aren't you? That you stopped time before we could do anything and then cast us out. So she says, let's see what the time intervals for you casting your power are, though, and just bum rushes and goes to attack. She and the Chrono Weaver magic go to exchange blows, and then a knight appears. A knight with a broom. Who has their own sea shanty. Da 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 da! Time to sort the decks. Doesn't leave a lot of room for other people to join in. You gotta be right on the ball.
I was gonna say you need to jump right in on that one.
There's an awkward pause as they look around and realize that a fight is happening, and says like, "Oh, there's so many guests here. Oh, witches. Oh, wow. I'm so sorry that you are occupied. I'm just going to leave." And goes to turn around, and Ichi and Gokuraku grab the knight. And so, yeah, the knight's like, goodness, these gentlemen won't even budge. I'm in trouble. And the Chrono Weaver magic pauses, which Descaris is like, wait, whoa, what the hell? It's not using its power. So she says like, you guys, keep holding on to that one then. So she says, all right, if you're not going to touch us, then we're going to exploit that. All right, tell us what your trial is. Come on, let's do it. But Ichi says, hey, Descaris, so there's a human in this armor, and she's pregnant. So
how did he know so immediately? Like, they haven't looked in the armor. Did he just smell it? Is he just that good?
I don't know. So the woman removes her armor and reveals that, yeah, she's pregnant. And she says, I'm just your run-of-the-mill pregnant lady. And she says, would you not acquire my hubby? And the Chrono Weaver magic bamps over to her side. And as she says, the baby I'm carrying is the child of a human and a magic. To which everyone is dumbstruck. And the Chrono Weaver magic seems to be a little bit perturbed as the pregnant woman says, oh, oops, I shouldn't have said that.
I like that this series, like every arc is like a new, hey, here's a world-shattering development for like everything going on. It's like, we're going to start, men can't be witches, except for Ichi. Okay, but there's no other male witches. Also, Gokuraku can also fight against them by, manipulate him. Like, okay, well, that's done. Also, here's the first like human magic hybrid essentially is about to be birthed into the world. It's a very tumultuous times in the Ichi universe.
The Chrono Weaver magic, there's definitely something where it's like you can tell how bestial they are even in the humanoid form. I like how they haven't talked at all thus far. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how everyone navigates this development and what it means for things.
I think there is going to still be a wrinkle to this arc that we haven't quite gotten yet, because right now this seems to be far too easy of a solution for Jinkei Shirune's conflict, where it's like, can I trust humans to do right by magics? And it's like, well, if you see a magic human relationship, it's pretty clear that is possible then. So I feel like there's got to be some extra thing. I don't know if it's going to be like a third party shows up, or if there's some wrinkle to this magic in some way, but I just think there's got to be something going on here to then make that decision a little bit more interesting when it comes around.
Mm-hmm. All right. Blue Box, Chapter 213, The Final Burden. Haruto is getting some weightlifting in, and it's under advice from Hyodo that he needs to seek. What's going on?
Oh, Nick. Ooh, I know we're in October. The Spookmaster General, she's trying to take over me. Oh, you don't understand. It looks lame here, but like in my mind, we're waging countless battles on infinite planes, and I'm only doing the bare minimum to hold her back. Nick, you have to make the spooky pun in Haruto's name. It's the only way.
Haru Toadstool?
Harubu was what I was going to do, but that works too.
That doesn't work. That doesn't work at all, no. Haruto. There we go.
Oh, that's a much better one. Ah, okay. We're good.
Yeah, I know.
Whew. All right. Carry on, Nick.
Taiki is doing well in practice, and you know, he is. There are people who are observing, like, man, you know, I want to be able to compete in Batman and stuff like that, but there's such a difference between us. I'm so jealous of Taiki with his awesome Batman skills and his bombshell girlfriend in college. But Taiki is not very pleased with his own performance. He just collapses on the floor after winning and says, "Oh, I was bad in the first game. I start off slow and my base is shaky." So he goes over to Kyo and says, like, "Come on, practice with me." And Kyo just says to Mr. Complainy Pants, he's got his own brand of worries. Hina comes over and congratulates Taiki on winning the match. And she says, "Hey, how are you feeling?" And he's like, "Oh, super good," after a little bit. And Taiki just says, like, I feel like if I told you, like, oh, things aren't going well, then that would actually make things not go well. So by saying I'm super good, I should be even better. And he was like, okay, I'm sorry for asking that question.
Very funny.
They talk about the jelly cups that Hina got for her birthday from him. And she said, yeah, I only ate one and put the rest in the fridge. I'm going to eat them just before important events like tournaments, because eating them cheers me up so much. Aww. And Taiki says, yeah, Simbakia jelly sure are good, huh? Hina's like, this fucking guy.
Stupid. It's very funny because you're also just like, I mean, this isn't going to work. We know Taiki.
No.
But it is very funny that she's just like, you know, I'm going to save your desserts and eat them on very special occasions because they mean so much. And he's like, yep, those are good jellies for you. Like, this boy couldn't ever have the thought in his mind that this girl is trying to make a move on him.
Well, in his defense, oh yes, my good friend who confessed her feelings to me and I rejected and she got over it as far as I know. Yeah, those were good jellies. Aren't we such good friends now that we've had that conversation and we moved past it, right?
He is very correct on that as well, yes.
On his way home from practice, Taiki gets a call from Chinatsu, you know, they talk about, like, yeah, I'm going home, and Taiki asks what she's been up to, and she says, oh, I made curry, and I've just kind of been, you know, zoning out, watching NBA, and she starts talking about basketball for a bit, and she's talking about Steph Curry without naming Steph Curry. I can tell, because...
Well, Nick, how is that possible? Because the two teams are a New York City team and some team called CPT. And I have been trying to figure out who in the world CPT could possibly be. I'm like,
NYC, so that New York City is right, so that's going to be
presumably the Knicks.
Right. CPT.
Because I was like, Portland Trailblazers with a C at the beginning for some reason.
Corporate Trailblazers,
Oh,
more like.
the corporate Trailblaze. Oh my gosh, they joined the ministry.
There's like a really weird mashup of their theme songs now. Yeah, I guess like all the NBA teams that start with C are Charlotte Hornets, Chicago Bulls, and Cleveland Cavaliers. So, it's a good question.
I sat in there and I was like, hold on, Mr. Blue Box. I don't actually think you're a mister, but still, I don't think that team exists. This whole manga is ridiculous now. It should all be erased.
Also, is that a 2? Is that a second quarter? Is it 55-68 in the second quarter? What a high-scoring game!
I'm starting to think the manga might not know that much about basketball, which is why we don't see a whole lot of stuff about how it's played.
So after they talk for just a little bit about nothing really, Chinatsu says like still got leftover curry. You want to come over tomorrow? And Taiki gets a little. I've got an all-day practice tomorrow. How about the day after tomorrow? And she says, I've already got plans that day.
Oh my gosh, this is unfortunately far too realistic as somebody trying to manage a long-term relationship while being busy. I'm like, oh, I'll see you eventually, right?
Yeah. When Nicole and I were living in separate states, we had kind of like a hardline rule of like this day of the week, we have a call with each other. So that it was a thing that we had to like always like clear, like, this day of the week and this day of the week. And eventually it became 3 days of the week because we were just like, fucking want to fucking live with you.
Yeah.
But that did definitely help us by maintaining that routine to make sure that we were spending time with each other, even if we couldn't be near each other. And when you've got plans like a teenager, though, where you're very much at the whims of more like class schedule stuff and like, oh, we've got to do this thing for this club and then on this day, then you've got a lot less control of that than you would when we were in our position where we had very set schedules that were very routine.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is like I said, very unfortunately realistic.
Yep.
So they say that they miss each other. Taiki says, when I get home, I'm going to admire the stuffed deer that you gave me. Aw, that's sweet.
Yeah.
But they also like reiterate, like, I know we can't see each other, but we still got to keep on working hard at what we're trying to do. And Taiki reflects in particular on how the fact that he got to see, Chinatsu's games and how hard she worked at everything made him realize how difficult it was going to be for him to get to nationals. But he vows, I can't lose to anyone else this year. This is my last chance because now he's a third year. Before they get off the call, Chinatsu says, make sure you stay hydrated, which is very good. Making sure that her stupid boyfriend is healthy. And then they say goodnight to each other. Taiki gets home, tells his mom he's in the mood for curry now, which is very cute.
Mm-hmm.
Haryu meets up with Nishida to have some food together. And they just, are kind of catching up for a little bit because, they're like in different classes and stuff. They don't get to see each other as often. Nishida says that he's been in touch with Kyo and says like, let's go hang out with the team sometime. Then, as they're continuing to talk, we see that at badminton practice, Haruto and Taiki have a practice match with each other. Mm-hmm. When Nishida had proposed that they go and see the team, Haryu kind of went, yeah, sure. And Nishida says, what's with that reaction? And Haryu says, well, it's because like the last time I saw Taiki, I felt like I was watching myself from last year. And just as he shares that thought, back during the game, Haruto nails a smash against Taiki, and it's match point. He beat him 21-13, 21-9, mopped the floor with him. And everyone's like, holy shit, Taiki lost. And this is the final burden, the final push from below. As everyone's trying to get like, oh my god, maybe he's not feeling well, maybe, but oh no, it's got to be a fluke and stuff. But
it's very interesting that because Haruto didn't go to nationals last year, no one's just like, oh, Haruto's really good. Everyone's like, Taiki must have had an off game, must have been a fluke, or whatever. But I mean, it's definitely a powerhouse showing to not just beat Taiki in badminton, but to, as you said, pretty much cream him by those numbers.
So yeah, that's it's interesting that we're getting this now, like the very present danger of like, oh, Taiki's got like this opponent at home that he's got to worry about, not just Yusa. But we'll see how things play out on that end. I'm glad that we're getting more into the shonen sports stuff element in Blue Box again. Chainsaw Man, Chapter 216, Yearning. Little Denji has run into Asa.
Little Denji! What a scamp.
Little Denji has run into Asa in this world of alleyways, and they're running around as Asa is trying to find something. She tramples over what seems to be the chicken devil, little Bucky from the very beginning of part 2. Meanwhile, Yoru and Chainsaw Man are going at it. Yoru got cut into many pieces. She just puts herself back together. She's fine. But she says to the, mindless Chainsaw Man, yeah, it took about 4 or 5 human lives. Yeah, I made a contract with the governor of California in exchange for me not... I know this takes place in the 90s, but we all know who she's really talking about. In exchange for me not attacking California, the citizens will shoulder the burden of my deaths. California has a population of 32 million people. So how many more times are you going to kill me, Chainsaw Man? And we, during the fight, see little cuts to people just kind of falling over dead at certain points when this is happening. Much less gruesome than, the people whose fingers got blown off when she used Gun Devil and everything. These guys just kind of like fall over mysteriously dead.
Yeah, they're just poop.
Yoru then summons from the door to hell the Accident Devil, which I do love the body, which is just like crumpled together cars and stuff. So a particular type of accident, presumably. And turns the Accident Devil into a weapon, a chainsaw whip, which consists of many tires with spikes coming out of them. And she just cuts Chainsaw Man's body in half with it. Sends him careening into a building, follows up, cuts the building in half. Chainsaw Man guts her. More people fall over dead in California. And we get this like playing card almost looking design because they're like head to toe across a full page spread, cutting each other apart.
It's a pretty cool image.
I really like that full page spread. Little Denji and Asa are now chasing down a mysterious figure, and Asa's calling out for them. Wait, Mom! And presumably Asa's mother, because it looks a hell of a lot like an older her.
Yes.
Stops and looks back at Asa. That's the end of the chapter.
Looks back, you say, Nick.
Oh!
It's a good chapter. As I said, I like that Denji and Asa are interacting. That like we have this split world of like, hey, the Yoru and Black Chainsaw Man fight is going on, and it's intense, and there's it's sort of this stalemate where neither of them can really kill each other quite yet, but it definitely looks much worse for Denji than it does for Yoru. But then we get Denji and Asa inside, and I don't know, it's just nice to get to see those characters interacting and like feel like the focus is finally on something in Chainsaw Man. All right, Nick, let's talk about Dandadan chapter 211. Who the heck? So we open with the Tasty Geezer's Bread Bakery, and we see Saint Germain and his
Oishi Jiji Pan.
Yes, and we see, I assume actually, and we see Saint Germain and the girl who has been working for him, who still just absolutely refuses to be named. I'm about to give her a stupid name in a moment, and it might happen by the end of this chapter. We'll see.
I'm going to call her One Eye Wilma.
I'm not going to remember all of that, but I can do Wilma.
Have you ever seen Goonies?
No.
Oh.
And
It's
now,
all about
and
we're
now
trying
I'm.
to get the treasure of One Eye Willie. So
Oh.
that's why I call her One Eye Wilma.
Oh. Well, does she have a treasure?
It's because of the pirate emblem on her mask.
Oh, okay. Are there pirates in
The eye
Goonies?
patch. Well, there's dead pirates.
Okay, there we go. No, I have not seen Goonies for the people in chat who are asking. It's one of the few I still haven't gotten around to seeing. Is that one I should? I feel like that's one that hasn't aged well.
I would have to watch it with those kind of eyes to know, but like it's one of those things where like you kind of have to see it. So.
Well, they said that, and then I watched Back to the Future, and I was like, that sucked. I could have just lived with the memes.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll say that right now. The first Back to the Future sucks. If you like that, then fair enough, but it's not that good of a movie. Anyways, One-Eyed Wilma is basically like, hey, why are we doing this? Why are we baking bread and not killing that Takakura kid? That suit you gave me was useless, by the way. And Saint Germain is just like, wasn't it more direct to say that you were weak, actually? Like, is it that? You'll never achieve anything if you keep pointing fingers at that. And what matters most is I'd like you to do a solid job in this bakery. That's why I hired you, after all. And
so it's like, wait, so this isn't just a cover?
now, Wilma goes, why do I have to make bread? And he responds, because you are a baker. To which Wilma replies, I'm not a baker.
What is this guy? What is going on with him?
Such an absurdity. Saint Germain, though, lays down the law and he says, hey, outside of working hours, you're free to do whatever you please. But since I have hired you, you are a baker. So let's make this tasty geezer bread together. It's like, okay.
This is like you buy a game based off of the cover, and then it's like you're told, like, no. That thing that you saw is just the mini game you play. The main plot is going to be you baking bread.
You fool! Why did you think this was anything else?
If you unlock the bonus stage, you get to shoot the gun.
So, we start seeing smoke inside of the bakery, and One-Eye Wilma's like, oops, I guess I overbaked it. But nope, it's actually an Enra, the smoke yokai, who has shown up, and Saint Germain takes a look at this person who is like kind of bowed a knee in respect. He goes, my, and who might you be? Turn the page. And Enra's like, I wish you wouldn't say that every single time. And he's like,
who is this guy?
He replies,
he's being deliberately obtuse.
He does not reply to that at all. It's just his thing. He's just like, he just is very tickled by every time this dude shows up acting like he has no idea who he is, which is like kind of a funny bit, but this isn't the guy you'd expect bits from in my mind.
Right.
So this guy is bringing up like, hey, I'm very sorry. The lizard sent by the Serpo to help only got in my way in the end, and I returned to you the Kozuka you lent me. The plan was mine, so I take full responsibilities for its failures. And Saint Germain's like, no, things will remain as they are. Your intention was not wrong. We have obtained some deeply interesting data on yokai suitability and the development of their powers thanks to you. In actuality, you discovered an exceptional gift in Koki Yukishiro, and you were able to level up her Lord of the Flies ability. But, since you came out into the open, the Sorcerers Association is now probably going to take action, so we're going to have to kind of work underneath the radar now. And there's a brief moment about the Serpo and how Saint Germain does not truly trust the Serpo, and it's probably, mutual as well. But the notion is only humans can use yokai powers. Those aliens make no attempt to understand that fact. So how about this? We turn Takakura and the others into our friends so that we may create the ultimate yokai. And we see...
it's okay, we put briefs on him.
Yeah, well, we see a guy, as pointed out in our Discord, and I'm sure other places, a guy who looks very similar to the agent that Miss Adachi tried to connect with, that kind of just told her, like, hey, mess off. That's like, he looks pretty close to that guy. So this might be an actual person they're trying to build. Meanwhile, One-Eyed Wilma is very upset because she's like, why am I baking bread? This is all very stupid. And the little girl with a bread t-shirt, by the way,
She
walks
loves
up.
bread.
She loves it. It's like, this is for you. And she hands a little paper crane and is like, we always come here because the bread is, well, this is the mom, actually, because this
She
is
also talks that way. It's fine.
yeah, she's like, well, I'm so glad the bread is added with free. But yes, the little girl wants to give One-Eye Wilma this beautiful paper crane that she made as thanks. And we cut outside as Enra is like walking away. And he's like, I don't get it. Pretending to be common people, what's he hoping to achieve? To make them our friends? Nobility? Friends with commoners? Impossible. Cut over to Seiko and Gigi having their conversation. The Red Baron, is that what he really called himself? Gigi's like, yeah, I don't know if that's his actual name, but seems like that's what he wanted to be called. And Seiko's like, okay, I think I'm getting the picture. Tells a story about like a long ago clan that was like basically called the Black Paladins, and they were collecting powers and yokai and curses to crush rival companies, and diviners would be attached to these companies. So it was like just like business essentially. But there's a famous person in the industry, an assassin who calls himself the Flying Ace. Just hearing the name is enough to make some companies run for cover. But they
Quinn, the naming gimmick of this group is either going to be Air Force pilots of some kind or Peanuts references. Not sure yet. We need a third sample. If the third one shows up and they call themselves Joe Cool, then we'll know.
Yeah, they're like, I am Pigpen. You're like, oh. I mean, not one of my favorite Peanuts characters, but not bottom. I mean, you could be Schroeder. Good Lord, who would ever? But they're like, okay, so that means this is bad, right? We're gonna have to deal with a whole bunch of these people. But Seiko kind of reiterates what Saint Germain was noting, like, hey, the Sorcerers Association is now on it. These guys have acted a little too openly, so they're gonna be having to do that. But she also notes, like, hey, I'm sorry, like, you had to kind of protect me on this one. And Gigi's, of course, like, no, I'm glad, thanks to you. And we just end the chapter now with Seiko being like, well, I'm glad you're fine, because now we have this idiot who's forgotten how to use her powers. We just see from out in the hallway, Momo being hugged really tightly by Vimola, who has shown up. And the second panel, like, you don't really get to see like everything, but she's like, Momo looks like she's trying to get away, and Vimola is like locked in as tight of a hug as possible. It's very cute.
Vimola remembers her friend. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that Vimola found her way back to the group after Momo ditched her, not knowing who she was. And now she's just kind of like, you're that girl from the end! Yeah, like some nice moving on into setting up more stuff. And yeah, I am very curious now actually about this group now that we have seen more of this quirky side to some of these characters. As opposed to like, it felt like we got kind of a long train of characters that were just like getting their ass beaten, and then it was just like, all right, we're done with them. And I was like, okay, we've got some characters who are sticking around to be opposition to our guys for a little bit, and we're getting to know some of them a little bit better. Some of them feel more sympathetic, some of them feel sillier, more interesting characters to follow now.
Absolutely agree. Good stuff.
All right, let's talk Spy Family. It's chapter 123, part 2. So the kids are in the abandoned haunted dorm. Came across a creepy shoe that was all icky. And so Connie uses like an Afuda to attack the shoe on the stairs and then goes rushing up the steps. And Anya follows by using her butterfly net to capture the shoe and take it with them. And she's like, I caught a ghost shoe!
I did it!
They go upstairs, and as they're looking around, they see like various sites. So, for example, the foreign student exchange students like, oh my gosh, a dissection lab! We're going to be cut to pieces! And one of Damien's cronies just says like, it's just for frogs and stuff, it's fine. But the creepy occult guy says like, oh, I don't know, I've heard some older kids say that Eden students with poor grades have been used as human test subjects during the Great War. All discussion of it was forbidden, so they thought devil ritual was a code phrase for alluding to it, which, given what we know little bits and pieces of, may not be as far from the truth as it sounds like on first glance. This could be related to, for example, Anya in some way.
Very possible.
Anya, speaking of, hears a voice in her head. Just a voice just going, hey. And that distracts her. She looks around, and of course everyone's freaking out because they're like, oh, you heard a voice? And because they're all on edge because of the ghost. And as they wander down the hallway together, she hears the voice going, go away. Don't come any closer. And they're all in a hallway walking by an exterior window, and a shape flies by in the corner of their vision and spooks everybody. And they're like, wait a minute, this is the 3rd floor, right? Ah! And everyone starts running, freaking out, scared, except for Anya, who gets a psychic overload and just collapses. And Damien turns and runs back to get her. What a good find. But as he turns to try and save Anya, they hear, ooh, something in the dark hallway beyond coming towards them. Oh no! So Damien tries to help Anya up. Connie also turns back to help out, and she says, I need something that can exorcise this spirit. Go to hell! And just throws everything that she's brought to fight the spirits. Freaking onions and charms and...
Well, one of them's
perfume?
Like, yeah, I was like, perfume. Some of this is just stuff she had in her purse. Like, some of it she brought to, like, fight with, and then, like, some of it's just like, take this mirror.
Some of it's just her stuff in her purse, yeah. She picks up Anya's net, which is very important, and they run away while Damien is having Anya piggyback. And Anya, meanwhile, is going, Scion boy, hit its weak spot and kill it. They rush down the stairs and they run into their classmates. Oh my gosh! And it turns out that some other students took this courage challenge thing. They're like, oh, we wanted to become Imperial scholars by seeing a ghost and stuff. And so they all start to run out. The really big guy, whose name escapes me at the moment, says like, oh yes, we saw one too, and the ghost stole one of my shoes. I can't find it anywhere. Connie's like, oh well,
I think we have that.
Caught one. So everyone rushes outside, and they catch their breath. Damien has a moment to go, ha! I did it! Yes, I was attacked by a ghost, and I'm a lock for Imperial Scholar. But Anya bemoans the fact that they didn't catch the spirit, and then Damien realizes he's still got her on his back and throws her off. That night, all of them were too afraid to take a bath or go to the bathroom alone, parentheses, except Anya.
Yeah, I love the little thing where she's like, hey, Papa, I fought a ghost today. And he's like, shut up and do your homework. Like, he just hears this stuff so frequently. He's like, just eat your goddamn vegetables.
The next day, they go to class. Anya and the others are sneezing a little bit because, I don't know, they caught something while they were in that schoolhouse, but it was all drafty and stuff. Maybe that was it. Damien says, hey, don't tell anyone we went to the old schoolhouse. And Anya's like, okay. But Connie comes running in with big news, and Anya goes, who are you? Connie!
She tried to save your life.
And Damien says, oh, don't tell me you saw the ghost again. She says, no. It's Mr. Henderson. And Damien says, he's been cursed? No! He might be getting fired.
Bum, bum, bum.
No!
I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm curious to see why he would be getting fired.
Absolutely. I care infinitely more if Mr. Henderson loses his job than if any of these kids got haunted by a ghost.
Yeah, that crown boy could have gotten his head snapped off, and I'd have been like, whatever. Yeah. But Mr. Henderson losing his job, like, how is he going to have a relationship and rapport with these children now?
If that crown kid had lost his head, then he would have been the only one not to have a relationship with Mr. Henderson from that on.
That's just
think of the greater good.
That's just utilitarianism. One dead child is better than like a bunch of children not having a cool teacher.
And that's why one dead child is better than one dead old man.
This is what I like to call the Koseki principle. Like slap my presentation.
All right, Quinn, World Trigger.
Trigger! Nick, we get to see a sky again in this chapter.
There are people in uniform using triggers, Quinn.
They're doing things. They're talking about combat. They're talking about practical things. Oh, it's incredible.
I mean, they're talking about it.
Yeah, they'll eventually get to a fight, though.
It's the OA mission test, Phase 2, Part 1.
Yeah, we need to like mark this. This is one of those moments you have to like take the mental snapshot of, because what's gonna happen when we get to away mission phase 2 part like 38 or whatever. You're just gonna be like, how long have we been in this part, Nick?
Suicide Squad 7 leaves the simulation room. They get through the door and they're outside.
Woo!
They are presented with their triggers for Phase 2, pass them around. They get a little bit of a breakdown on, like, just some of the last-minute rule changes. One being, those with away mission experience can't be the commander for either team. And second rule, Agent Jin of the A-rank team will be allowed to use his side effect, but forbidden from telling others any information he gets via the side effect. So he can use it for combat.
He can use it for himself, yeah.
So,
I completely forgot he had this, by the way. It's been so long since I've thought about Jin, I had to like be reintroduced to things.
Ui asks if they have to return the triggers that they used in Phase 1. They're told, nope, we're going to collect all the triggers after Phase 2, which seems like it's going to be a little setup of like, oh, someone might use something that they had during Phase 1 of the exam.
Even remember.
I don't really know what that could be.
I was going to say, they didn't...
I mean, no one was using triggers.
Yeah, they didn't actually fight, did they?
No.
I hope it's like a cooking trigger. Like some dude like souffles up like Ashiara or whatever.
Ikuma goes, yes!
Arashiyama, sorry, not Ashiara.
They are assured that there are some B rankers and C rankers that are like rotating to do the defense test while all the A rankers and B rankers are taking this test together. Everyone goes trigger on, and Squad 7 rather, appears in the middle of a basketball gym. And they've got new combat outfits with mismatching bottoms and tops, which I fully agree with Katori that the operators just like have a better distribution of the color pattern breakup, because it's just like jacket and pants, and it's kind of weird if you're just a regular operator. A regular agent. The operators get handy utility skirts.
Yeah, it's like a Batman belt, looks like.
We also has a laptop that she can utilize for their terminal. So they get a little breakdown of the map, like, okay, here's where we are, basically in the middle of our territory. And so Osamu goes up to check things out. And yeah, like I said, we see the sky. And Osamu gets the impression like, wow, this is a really, really big battle area that we're going to be having to take note of here. So as a result of that, if we make a bad first move, that'll be really, really costly. They take a look at the terminal, which has a big old 1000 on it. And they're like, okay, what's this? Okay, the other terminals have numbers too. Maybe it's like the hit points of their shield. And then they see a little bing. One of the terminals as it goes down to 997. Huh. Why did Squad 11's number just drop? That's weird. Then they get a call from one of the other teams, and they say like, "Okay, yeah, we're here. I guess we're gonna need to like elect a commander." And so yeah, all the squads are talking about stuff, and they say like, "Okay, the ones who with away mission test are like Utagawa, Kikuchihara, Azuma, Ninomiya. None of us can be the commander. It should be someone who is like master tactics and battle sims." So they say like, okay, maybe like someone from Suwa squad, someone from Mizukami squad, maybe Kitazoe squad. And then someone brings up like, why can't we just like all act independently?
Well,
like,
that's
no.
Oh god, what is his name? It's Utagawa, right? It's the
It's
dude who
oh,
like Rambo's off. So he's like, hey, instead of electing a leader, what if we all just ran off
I'm
and
just
do our
gonna
own
go.
thing?
Bye.
Yeah, yeah. I really expect him to just be like, so
I'm no longer confined in a room with you losers. I'm leaving.
I'm gonna catch you guys later. So bye.
But they say like, okay, yes, I guess some squads can act independently, but we really do need someone to at least coordinate. And they nominate Kodera, which, man, we haven't seen him do really that much in a long time. I guess he's their commander now, so I guess we'll see how that works out. They're running low on time. Korai brings up like, hey, so we also saw that Squad 11's number is lower than the rest. What happened with that? And Wakamura says like, oh yeah, so Ninomiya asked us for something. And Ninomiya says like, yeah, I wanted to know how sturdy the shields are. So I asked them to hit the terminal once. And Ninomiya says, I struck with considerable force.
It's Husei, right?
Not Ninomiya. Hughes says
Yeah,
that, yes.
he's just like, I hit it as hard as I could and did 3 damage.
So when you work that out, he says like a single agent would basically need to dedicate like 3 minutes to destroy a single terminal, which means like you can't just jump in there and like and
you can't solo it. You can't just take down the fountain by yourself, guys. It's not gonna work like that. Tower's gonna knock you out first.
Yeah, proper good PvP team rules.
Yeah.
So Osamu makes a proposal because people are like, okay, I guess we'll get set to gather some intel and everything. And Osamu says, hey, maybe we should like all rendezvous at the front line because if our teams are operating independently, then they could get wiped out. So I think that we should not have teams separated from each other. I think that we should at least have groups of 2 teams. And both Kitora and Yuma are like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. But some of theirs are like, what about like the terminals in the back though? Then we won't have anyone defending those. And Osamu says, I think we should sacrifice half the terminals. And he explains, look, we have the advantage in terms of team distribution, which a few other people do immediately catch on like, yeah, he is right. Because he says, we've got 15 more agents, and if you include operators, that's only 13 more, yeah. So we've got a larger number of team members and a larger army of Trion soldiers. So if we spread ourselves thin, that is going to cost us our advantage in numbers. We should be working towards having just what we learned from the first part of the exam, which was how effective it is to have a huge number of overlapping attacks together. So they figure like, yeah, I guess I see the point, but and so he's like, we shouldn't sacrifice that. There is, however, an issue that gets brought up, which is, okay, if we try and keep every terminal intact, then eventually we're going to lose our numbers advantage and we'll be in an uphill battle. But, oh gosh, what is his name? Is it Kikuchihara who says this?
No, it's Oji, right?
If you say so.
I vaguely, because it's OG of OG Squad, the guy who mispronounces people's names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe so.
So he says that he mostly agrees with Osamu's line of thinking, and like he's going on explaining it, like 3 people are like, Osamu, what the fuck?
Yeah, cool.
Which I guess makes sense because we know that he was saying this stuff on the broadcast, but not everyone was watching the rank wars, I guess. So he says, like, well, let's say that we sacrifice a number of terminals. That's still going to give us a massive points gap. This is the voice I did for him way back when.
Oh my god. Yeah, I did not remember that. All right. Blast in the past.
So he brings up, like, if they do sacrifice terminals, then that's going to put them in the hole. And so what if then the A team or A rankers just run out the clock and play defensively? They won't be able to overcome that. So Osamu makes that as that, like, oh yeah, I see your point. I still think we need to prioritize grouping up, though. So Kodera says, like, yep, all right, I'm taking that suggestion then. So terminals 2, 3, and 4, that's our front line. I want all the other squads to rendezvous with a frontline squad as I've indicated. And so everyone starts to say, yep, understood, starts following orders. We catch in briefly with Yuzuru, who thinks to himself, I don't think that this plan is like bad, but I feel like the A rankers are more dangerous than he's giving them credit for. in this case. And that's the end of the chapter, basically, even though we've got like a third of it left, as we just get the rest of the space dedicated to here are all the squads, the individual members of each squad, the individual defeat value of each squad member, which is a very handy reference considering that the last time that we had this breakdown was at the beginning of part 1. And now we've got even more squads to keep track of and consider, including, not just like agents, but, freaking engineers and stuff.
It is very nice. We also get to find out the important information that Akoma is worth 69 points. Nice.
Yeah, you got the best score.
Yeah, you got the best score. And also, this is our introduction of like kind of a few different characters and groups. So that's pretty cool. But good Lord, there are so many people, and I was truly taken aback when I was like, oh my God, they're all here. And like, parentheses, intimidating. Like, it's no longer like they're all here like Smash Brothers. Like, oh God, I'm gonna have to keep track of every character it will trigger, basically. Because they even have someone note, they're like, who's gonna handle defense at some point? And they're like, Captain Shido, Nasu, and I forget, someone else are basically just gonna handle it with like, the B rank agents who aren't here and some C rank agents. You're like, okay.
I think that the roster of characters we're presented with here might actually be bigger than current Smash rosters.
If you include everybody,
like something.
Yeah, it's an obscene amount of characters here.
The note that we end off on is that Sua dictates the formation for his team as they're getting ready to rendezvous with everyone else. And he has Katori take point and Ui take the center. And there is a nice little note that he throws in right at the end, which is like, hey, Ui, pay attention to the way Katori moves. You should treat her as your example of how to operate a Tryon body. Just a little acknowledgement of like, hey, Katori is very talented at this stuff intrinsically. So follow that. And that's it. The test begins as everyone sets off for the long-term combat phase.
Oh my gosh, Nick, I haven't seen like a world trigger fight in what feels like ages. I've rewatched the Osamu and Ninomiya fight on YouTube like every couple months just to remind myself why I like the series. I don't know what I'm gonna do when someone fires a bullet again. I'm gonna lose my mind.
My God,
you can do that?
It can happen.
Osamu, watch out! He's got a gun.
You idiot! We've all got guns. Hima-Ten, or more like Hima-60.
Whoa, you did it. You took my joke.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Heartwarming future. So Iamori just ran into Himeno outside of their apartments, and she says, like, yeah, Kanai's visiting me. She came to see you, actually. And I understand that you guys, like, visited your middle school, and things got awkward. So, yeah. You want to come see her? And he says, like, yeah, I kind of want to talk to her.
Yeah! He just, like, his voice cracking. That sounds good!
So, yeah, it turns out Kanai actually is there, and she apologizes to Iamori for, like, kind of, like, things being awkward when they had their little moment at the blackboard. But Iamori also apologizes and says, like, hey, maybe we should just, like, stop tiptoeing around each other. We both remember the first time that we ever talked to each other in middle school. Like, we don't have that kind of relationship with anyone else. Which, when you're that young, that long of a relationship that you both remember and cherish, that is a very unique thing that you do hold on to and don't really know, like, what to do with otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So, they say that, and Honoka says, like, oh, that makes me feel great. I feel inspired to get to know you even better now. And Himeno thanks her, so like, good job. Yeah, make him think of you even more. Good job. So Honoka, after that, does quickly go home. Well, she doesn't go home. Sorry. She uses the shower. So she uses Himeno's bathroom. And while she is, like, there, she thinks to the advice that Himeno gave her before Iamori showed up, which was like, hey, so, like, the way that he was behaving when you guys were talking, he probably thinks you remember erasing the blackboard together. That's why he posed it as a question. Like, he wanted to, like, make that connection with you, essentially. And Hanoka reflects on, like, would I in the past have, like, done this, like, bothered a teacher in this way so that I could see Iomori? Meanwhile, Iomori is hanging out with Himeno in the living room for a bit. Himeno, just like off the cuff, goes like, hey, stop thinking about the bath that she's in right now. Iomori asks, like, hey, how did, Kanai end up in here and stuff? And so Himeno's like, oh, like, I asked about the middle school trip and everything. She asked if she could stop by here. And I told her, yeah, we could talk. But then she showed up. She was, like, all chilled to the bone. So I told her that she could wait inside. I didn't want her to just, like, wait out while she was all cold like that. But she knows, like, hey, seems like she was kind of acting a little bit out of character, huh? And Iomori says, yeah, I admit I didn't expect that she would go that far just for me, so it made me happy. And Himeno says, well, why don't you tell her that? And Kanai comes out at that moment, and she's wearing some clothes that Himeno has loaned her, and immediately Iomori's like, oh, she's so cute.
That cardigan does look comfy as hell, though. Like, I truly do look at that. I'm like, man, I kind of wish I had a cardigan like that right now.
Mm-hmm. I don't. I've had no air conditioning for most of the past 2 days. So. They bring up the whole thing of, like, oh, right, Hanoka's got to go home at some point. So Himeno actually offers to drive her back, and she says, like, she thinks to herself, I'm not playing favorites with Kanai, but I know that she's trying very hard, and I just kind of, like, want to throw these kids a bone and just help them out a little bit. So she leaves to go and take a bath herself, which of course leaves the two of them alone. And she says, by the way, I have security cameras set up all over the place. And Iomori's like, what are you talking about? Well, I don't know. What do you think she's talking about, Iomori? But Hanoka, is like, hey, do you have some time? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. And she says, okay, well, then you don't get to go home yet. And she looks very cute when she says it, because she's like hiding behind the cardigan sleeves.
Yeah, it's very adorable.
And she brings up, like, she said, we promised that we would stop tiptoeing around each other. So, yeah, let's do this. So I make a bit of coffee, and Iomori is like, yeah, I do want to, like, be more open with her, but being in the room alone with her is making me feel really nervous. Hanoka brings up, like, hey, are you ever going to come back to the cafe that I work at? And she's like, oh, I guess I have only been by twice. It's like, you do work right by there. You'd think that he would have at least stopped by at some point,
just to grab a coffee, like, just be like, oh, I really kind of need to pick me up today. And then again, he's broke. He probably doesn't go to a lot of Starbucks kind of establishments.
He says, yeah, okay, I'll stop by again sometime. And then she says, just like, hey, no holding things back. I can tell you're still holding stuff back. And so Iomori's like, it's just, I guess, kind of feel a little bit, like, nervous being in this situation. And Hanoka's like, yeah, I guess it's kind of weird that we're just hanging out at our teacher's house and I just came out of the bath. But she also says, it almost feels like we're living together.
Yeah, whenever, like, off-screen conversation happened where they were like, hey, you really gotta, like, get it go. Like, it really took, because, like, and Hanukkah, like, goes for it this chapter.
That is, like, you can't say that to a dude without him thinking things, okay?
It's one of those ones where you're like, okay, this is, like, it's almost a little awkward. It's almost a little too much where you're like, I would maybe have eased it back a little bit, but we do get, like, a very cute moment of them actually imagining this life together a little bit. It's like, oh, this is adorable. I'd still probably be like, that was a little strange.
I like how Iomori imagines Hanoka in the exact same outfit she's currently wearing, but the only difference is that she's wearing her hair in a ponytail so that she's older.
She put her whorish hair up now that she's a kept woman.
I can tell she's spoken for because I can see her ears. So he gets a little bit embarrassed about that, especially because he thinks about, Hanoka proposing, like, oh, do you want to take a bath? Not even like a bath together, just like a bath. Like, so. But, oh, the innocence of a teenage boy with a crush, I guess. And Hanoka goes in for the fucking jugular, and because, he says, oh, yeah, it'd be nice if we like shared a warm home and stuff. And she says, yeah, and we'd sleep in the same bed every night, wouldn't we? Just full page spread for her looking cute while saying that.
I
The
said
import is like,
she goes
oh.
hard in on it.
And finally, she does get embarrassed because she was like, yeah, it'd be nice, right? And she has to cover her face. Like, yeah, there are limits to her. And then the two of them imagine just like being fully clothed, cuddling up under the sheets. Those delinquents.
They're both so
they get
nervous,
so
though.
embarrassed.
They'd love it to happen, but they're both little shy children, so they're like, oh,
Yeah.
I could never.
Yeah, they're both like, oh my gosh, that'd be so great. And then Hanoka is like, what are you thinking about? You're all bright red. Nothing! And then we cut to, there's a camera sitting on the shelf as Himeno is just chilling in the bath,
All
using
right.
her phone to watch them through the security cameras.
This one's a little bit strange. I assume your house doesn't have like soundproof walls, or like if you were slightly curious to hear how this conversation went, couldn't you just hear it from the bath or whatever? It feels a little weird to actually spy on them with a camera.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely the weirdest thing about this chapter after we have a whole lot of these two having G-rated sex, basically. Like,
But Nick, you gotta pay the Himeno tax. It sometimes it crops up and you pay the piper and you don't have to deal with it much longer.
when Himeno is not on screen, we've got to ask ourselves, what does Himeno think about this situation? Then we got to check in on her and see.
Yeah.
But it's time for...
I do want to note Ninja saying, to be fair, she's a teacher who should be keeping track of what two students are doing in her house. She is also their teacher. She shouldn't have two students alone in her house right now.
So, Altar of the Flame, Chapter 20, The Wind Spirit. Kutane thinks to himself, like, he has to fulfill his duty now by helping Oter and Ditopirko to defeat Doradora. And so Doradora turns this, like, wind cannon thing to attack him and blows this massive blast of energy of some kind that sends a whole bunch of terrain up into the air. Some of Kutane's blood splatters onto the wind spirit, that tombstone thing. But because of that, the terrain is now changing. So Kutane calls over to Oter now, and Oter and Filgia launch this big burst of flame at Doradora. And he's like, well, what the hell? Where did these flames come from? It's like, is the ground beneath my feet? And because of this, the wind that Doradora has summoned is now causing the flames to get higher instead of snuffing them out. And we get a little flashback to explain that Kutane knows that the terrain under here is a peat bog. And so he burns some of it as a ritual whenever he visits the tomb. So he says, like, yeah, so I'll be a decoy, cause his wind to flip over the ground. That'll expose something flammable, and you can let your flames loose. So, hooray! Mm-hmm. And because he's so good at reading the wind, he was able to manipulate that when Dora launched his attack. So this huge, like, cyclone of flame bursts up into the air. Ocher gets his sword out and prepares his crimson sword to attack. But Dora calls out, Seal Blade! And a huge burst of icicles shoot out from him, just like Serold used in his fight with Oter.
Good lord. The amount of freaking mileage Serold or whatever has gotten in this series. Like, not just like, I'm your big antagonist. Actually, I'm going to have a heroic sacrifice. Actually, my memory is being desecrated, and that is like an annoyance to you. I'm like, man, we're getting a lot of use out of this one dude who kind of didn't have that interesting of a design, to be honest.
No, but he did have the best attack so far that we've seen. So Doradora's like, I prepared a countermeasure. And it's revealed that he had Serold's arm, like, bonded onto him the same way that he has all these other monster parts on him. And so he's like, yes, he was a great warrior, but that's also why he died. So he's like, I'm going to use all this power that I got, and I'm going to kill you with it. And so he uses both wind and winter together to send out a massive freezing star typhoon storm, and everyone is buffeted with freezing wind from it. And Oter gets in the way of Kutane in order to protect him as best as he can, which Doradora mocks. Again, goes on about like, show me your despairing expression. And instead, Oter looks at him, just super determined, not at all dismayed by it. And he says, no, my heart is still burning, and it's a warrior's job to protect everyone. And in that moment, Kutane, as well, is shielding Filgia, using his own body to protect her flame. And then he says, to make a bonfire bigger, you need wind. Good wind. I can tell the good from the bad. So just focus on increasing your firepower. I don't have the strength to fight, but that's no reason to sit around and do nothing. No reason not to help the childhood friend I respect and the new friend I've just made who loves sagas. I'm going to fulfill my duty. And Doradora is really upset that none of them are despairing. Why aren't you making the bad faces? You're making the good faces. No! How dare you?
I don't like the good faces. That probably means bad things for me.
And then as he goes forward, suddenly a voice calls out, so noisy. And now Doradora can't move as a figure appears. And Quinn, I don't know how I knew this was going to happen. A spirit appears before Kutane and cups his face, and I was like, I'll bet this one has big boobs. And you know,
I mean, it is the Red Hood artist. So yeah, like big boobs are definitely a thing. I wasn't expecting them to be so colossal though. They're truly enormous.
They don't look like they belong on her body, given the way her head fits on her body.
No, every part of her seems like ill-proportioned, but there's like the giant breasts are the most noticeable part of that.
Her name is Skadi, Dealer of Wounds, and she is the Wind Spirit. And she says to Kutane, pick up your bow. You wanted to fulfill your duty, didn't you? And so Kutane's like, all right, well, Oter, we'll figure out the details later. Can we do this? And they do a cool team-up pose. Kutane gets set to fire an arrow of energy, while Oter gathers flames into his crimson sword, and they double-team blast. I'm not sure exactly what they do. They shoot an energy thing, and it hits Doradora in a combo attack.
Yeah. It's cool. But it's just that. Like, it just kind of ends at that point. Like, oh, that's kind of sweet. And then I went on to the next chapter and kind of didn't think about this one too much after that. Unfortunately, I think we are past the point where a big titty anime character is going to be able to save this series. So
what? Do you mean everyone can just draw a big titty woman? What?
This guy can draw them really big, though.
Oh man,
it's fine. It's just, this is what we kind of knew was going to happen. It'd be like a fun little adventure, but not going to be sticking around that much longer, I think.
Ping-Pong Peril, Chapter 12, Crossroad. Yeah, so it's time for Tyra's new Ping-Pong Peril, and his opponent has bet all of the money that he has earned through all of ping pong in his life, which is 986 million yen, which would wipe out almost all of Tyra's debt if he were to win at this point. And so Tyra's like, I mean, I don't know what the hell this guy's thinking, but yeah, okay, he's declared it. So he sets off to try and get his life in order and to help his sister. And he's like, all I gotta do is win. Mm-hmm. So of course they are playing across the Shibuya crossing. The rules are that they have to hit the ball on the heads of the people crossing lights, and for their serves, they need to make sure that the second bounce hits the head of someone on another block. So Tyra is returning first, so he has to chase after a ball as it bumps on a couple people's heads, and they're like, what the hell? What?
I do love that they're like so skilled at the ping pong that people barely notice. Like, it doesn't really interrupt them in any way, and in fact, the more interaction he has with people is just running into like
Mhm.
passerbys and whatnot.
So of course Tyra thinks to himself like, okay, well he hit the ball away from himself. So I've got a 360-degree table to work with here. I'm just going to clear as much distance the opposite direction as I can on my return. And wouldn't you know it, the coach is there to receive it immediately. And Tyra is looking around and it's like, oh, shit. And he realizes I can't smash the ball because our table is really high up. So I can't get any leverage to smash it downward. All my shots are weaker than they normally would be. And also, they can go in completely unpredictable directions because we both have a 360 table to work with effectively. And also, he's making his way through one of the most crowded crossroads in all of Japan as he's playing ping pong.
This is unideal playing environment for many reasons.
So he loses 2 straight shots and nearly runs into someone. And as he's thinking that, he's like, oh, all these people are in my way. And someone that he nearly bumped into just looks at him like he's like, fuck you.
Eat shit. I hope all your food in your fridge is spoiled when you get home.
So he's like, oh man, I never imagined this would be so difficult. And he recalls a practice match that they had against each other, and how the coach had this habit of asking questions and studying them as they would play. Just like all sorts of different things. Like, what's your favorite drink? Mm-hmm. All sorts of stuff. And as they're playing in this practice match, the coach says, like, I knew it, you're bad at returning wide corner-to-corner shots. And Tyra thinks it felt like I was trapped, like he had coiled around me. And of course, we get snake imagery for that. Mm. Mutsuki is observing, but smart girl, she's observing from like a 3rd-story window so that she can actually see things. Tyra thinks to himself, like, God damn it, I wish I were 9 feet tall so I could smash the ball. Continues to run into people, and he's thinking to himself, how the hell can this guy maneuver around? With more snake imagery, obviously. He slithers through them.
Ooh.
And we get narration explaining that Hebizuka can see through people. So he's just very good at following people's movements, predicting how they're going to move, which makes him navigate around them very easily. So Tyra is up 3-0 at this point. He thinks to himself, like, all right, I got to play even harder in order to catch up. And Hebizuka, meanwhile, is reflecting on how they knew each other when Tyra was in middle school. How, like, hey, he was very lax when it came to actually winning. And although playing Ping-Pong Peril in the first place, the prize being on this kind of line, yeah, like, you've gotten greedy now. So it's not surprising that you are that way. And so he also wonders, like, I wonder if this guy like fell into debt or something like that. But he also knows Tyra stands out too much, which makes sense. He's scrambling around, shoving his way through people to try and get them, whereas Ibuzuka is.
He's not like a sneaky snake like that guy.
No, he's like a bull in a china shop. Tyra tries to get another shot, and I like how he's like going like, "Pardon me," while he's hitting it this time. And Hebizuka thinks, and that is why I really, really, really hated you. 3 years have passed since they first met, and he reflects on their first encounter when he was like, I was already an Olympiad trainee, but I was like, plateauing. So I took this job to coach up newcomers to the support. And immediately I found the real deal. You just standing there right in front of me. And so immediately when he came encounter Tyra, was like, hey, let's play a practice game. And both of them had the understanding of like, shit, this guy is really good. Tyra lost handily, but he did take 3 points off of Hebizuka at least.
Yeah, for this guy who's already like a pretty far up player to be getting points taken off him by what is in many ways like a rookie is a pretty shocking thing, I imagine, for him to have to see.
So both of them have this understanding of like, shit, this guy's really good. And at first it looks like Hebizuka's going to go, this guy's going to go pro immediately. I can't risk going all out against this kid. And at first I think like, oh, because you don't like want to crush his spirit. And then he reveals it's because I don't want to teach him anything. Just very protective of his station. So what an asshole. And as it turned out, Hebizuka couldn't even make it to the Olympics. But he thinks you're different from a fraud like me. So Tyra is still at a loss of what to do, and he thinks, I gotta do something the coach won't think of. And then he reflects on his idea of like, oh, if only I was 9 feet tall. And he turns and looks at everyone and starts to ask them something. But then at that moment, light turns green for a crossing. Mutsuki sees something happening and does an actual spit take. And is like, oh my god, what is that idiot doing? As
soon as I saw the spit take, I was like, this is gonna be good.
Tyra has managed to recruit 3 people to cavalry battle him and just carry him around the intersection. What did he tell them?
And I love the ending comment of like, you really do stand out too much, Tyra. But now it's not like, oh, it's like a detriment, you're not playing. It's like, this is what's kind of terrifying about you. Is like, you'll do this weird out there stuff. Also, I do like the idea of like, what if he didn't offer them anything? What if these were just like, because they're all like young boys. Yeah, they were all like, let's run across the street as fast as possible with you on our shoulders.
Oh, yeah. Fun chapter. It really does feel like we are heading towards Tyra losing in my mind, but we'll see how that goes. I really like this chapter, seeing it play out in terms of the building pressure on him, learning about their history together, and then an outlandish solution. Great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone hurts. Chapter number 3, Tired of Walking. Mime is going to meet up with Mizuo at a karaoke place.
Whoa!
What? So we get a little bit of a recap of the current state of things, which is that Mime has declared he's going to get into the fucking playoffs of this joke submission radio show.
3 a.m. on Monday radio show, yeah.
Oh my! And it's going to be live, by the way, that they're doing stuff. So they're going to get 10 people to show up at a radio station at 3 in the morning.
Imagine their face when 2 16-year-olds show up and they're like, ooh, we should have put rules. This could get us in trouble.
So are you two dating, or what's going on with you?
You guys are 21, right? And we didn't just pull you out of bed on like a school night, did we?
We do a lot of swearing on this, post-watershed radio show. Anyway, at some point, May is just walking home from stuff, and Mizuo is very obviously tailing him for something. And Mime is like, what are you doing? And she says, soccer. It's a great non sequitur. That's good. But it turns out she's not actually tailing him. She was going into a karaoke place, and then when she spotted Mime there, is just like tried to hide from him. And so Mizuo is like, Mime says to her, why are you at karaoke? You want to know? Stick around after the video to find out. Look, some of her jokes are really good.
Once you start to get the rhythm of what her humor is, it does catch you a couple times.
So the issue is that the week's one-liners are about karaoke. The prompt was, what would a state-run karaoke place be like? And so, yeah, Mime's like, oh, okay. So she can't come up with anything because she doesn't have experience with karaoke. So she doesn't have ideas for material. So, all right. That kind of makes her think like, okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, but I got to go put in some effort too. So anyway, I'll see you. And Mizuo was like, yeah, can I get 2 reservation for 2 in here? And Mime's like, I've got stuff to do. And Mizuo's like, you were just planning on wandering around Kaldi Coffee Farm without buying anything. I wouldn't do that. Do you have any plans? No.
Hard cut to them in the karaoke room.
Yeah. And it's a room for 2, so it's a very snug booth, which makes me think about, some of the other purposes that karaoke booths are used for in Japan. But
wait, really?
Oh, what? A private place?
I had never considered that, but that does make sense. Oh no! What if I'm sitting there singing my little Linkin Park song and my black light goes off and I'm like, the room it's covered And stains.
The blacklight function I have on my phone. That's one of my 4 favorite apps.
Right next to Pokemon Sleep. In fact, let me go check my Snorlax. Click. Oh no, the walls.
Why are there so many Pokemon? I also like the joke that the one-liner that Mizuho has, which is, "Hey, can you get thinner right now?" So anyway, yep, they're gonna go in there. Mime is like, "Oh, is it gonna be okay, the 2 of us doing this if we're not dating each other? Is it gonna be okay?" Calm the fuck down, dude. Anyway, yeah, they're gonna do some stuff. He's like, "Oh, there is a song that I like that I guess I could do." Mizuho has already claimed the song, so he can't just do that. Mime observes that she is very slightly off key. She starts asking a bunch of different questions about how stuff works. And Mime gets this very weird, intrusive thought, which is like, if she stays ignorant about karaoke, maybe Eel Potato won't get read on the air next week. I feel like that kind of is counterintuitive to the entire motivation he's laid out thus far. Unfortunately, it's not an intrusive thought that remains very long.
Yeah,
it's weird.
He has it, and then he makes the right decision.
And he's like, "Yeah, here, let me show you a bunch of different things." There is a little cute moment because he's a lot better at karaoke than she is, and so Mizuho says, "It's not fun if you sing well."
I do also like that she gets a 62 on her song, and she's like, "That's pretty good, right?"
That's pretty high, right?
Nope.
No,
it's out of 100.
Mime also gets very, very, very embarrassed when someone else comes into the room, which is kind of sweet because it's like he's comfortable doing it in front of her, but not in front of this random attendant that brings them, their food that they ordered. They take a little break during an interval, just kind of walk around a little bit, and they just experience what the place has to offer. Mizuho offers like, "Hey, as thanks for doing this, how about I treat you to a cup of tea at Caldi's? I mean, free sample, but But Mime is like, "No, I gotta go home." And then he realizes that he had been planning to use this time to come up with a joke. And Mizuho is just like, "Hey, how about this for a tip? If you polish a 10-yen coin with vinegar, it'll shine like new." Okay, I was trying to think about a thing to get read on the radio, and
I do like his. I'm going home.
I'm going home. But because they delayed getting home in order to hang out at the karaoke bar, they ended up running into this big shopping festival, which had actually been named earlier on in the chapter. So that was one of the reasons why. And then Quinn, we get the best moment in the chapter because there's all these people they got to navigate between. And Mizuho goes, "If I were Ice Shield 21."
Look, I don't want to say that moment gave me a kinship with this series I haven't felt with some other series previously. But there was definitely a moment where I was like, look, if you're going to be a gag manga that has to reference an old Shonen Jump manga over and over again, I want it to be Eye Shield.
Yeah, absolutely. Mizuho keeps on getting swept up in the crowd. So Mime eventually is just like, "Here, just grab onto me until we're out of here." And then he realizes wait, did I just suggest that she grab onto me? And we get another little cute moment where she's just, kind of gripping onto his jacket very timidly.
Legit had me go oh, when I turned the page. It's so cute. Because, she usually gets drawn much more like a gremlin, all the time. But when you see her, actually drawn as a person, it's a very tender look.
And we do not spend too long waiting around that cute moment because she follows it up with, "Hey, I'm tired of walking. Put me in an instrument case and carry me." The detail of "put me in an instrument case" makes that a lot better.
Yeah.
And we do see briefly that, hey, Mizuho was actually affected a little bit by that moment that they had because she has a little moment of once they actually say goodbye to each other. The joke that she actually submits to the contest is the worst joke that she has in the series.
It's also very funny because it's the end of the chapter where our lead's like, that's a joke she didn't even need to go to karaoke to do. It involved nothing inside of the studio.
Yeah. It was cute. It was fine.
This has been
three chapters.
This has been 3 chapters, Nick. are we going to continue reading Someone Hurts? I would like to. I would like to continue reading this for 2 reasons, Nick. 1,
2 reasons.
I genuinely enjoy this series. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I just kind of want to get to see them talk stand-up comedy and romance. It's a weird like Venn diagram that I love both sides of, that I'm kind of glad to experience. But the second reason, not for nothing, I think there's going to be some series openings sometime soon in Odor and Ping-Pong Peril. So the idea of having something already there to kind of help replace it would be nice. But this podcast is also very long, so I understand if you don't want to. This might be one where maybe like Harukaze Mound, which apparently is going to be sticking around for a little bit. Maybe we should just like catch back up with it and add it in once those series get removed.
We probably should catch up on that, because if it is actually like going to stick around for a bit, then I think that we should actually stick by like, you know, our thing of like, we like sports series.
We like sports manga, yeah.
So
well, to be fair, Ping-Pong Peril is kind of a sports manga.
Definitely a lot more of a sports manga than Blue Box is, let's be real.
Absolutely.
I would not mind following along with Someone Hurts if you want to do it. I'm not going to object to it. I don't have any negative feelings towards doing it. I just kind of had my doubts. But if you're interested in it, then yeah, absolutely.
I think this chapter really won me over. Not exclusively because of the Ice Shield 21 reference, but that did not hurt in any way, shape, or definitely was a big benefit. Like, this person has good taste.
Eerie Gray making me want to question everything by saying you could also read Ekiden Bros. You know what? Maybe we should just like not pick up any of them just to be safe, just in case we accidentally open Ekiden Bros instead.
That'd be great, because I'm like, what does Ekiden Bros do? Like, are there aliens? Like, what's happened in that series since then? I have no idea.
Even if there were aliens, I would still be like, no, too boring.
All right, Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi, Nick. Although,
Chapter 62.
You wouldn't be mistaken for thinking this is just a One Piece chapter based on the way it ends.
Chapter 62. Let's go to the demon realm. Kiyoshi tells everyone back at the hell. Oh fuck! I forget the name of the restaurant.
Hell's Mouth or something like that.
No, it's not that. Anyway, so he tells everyone that he's going to go and, you know, like, do this stuff. There's a weird moment that Jackjo has with Sosuke specifically where he's like, good luck to you! And he's like, why are you treating me like we're friends? And Akari is worried about Kiyoshi because she's like, hey, don't overdo it, because, like, you just got better. I don't want you to lose your precept power again. And hey, there is a little moment that they have where Kiyoshi thinks about the help that she gave him and how that's the reason he still has precept power at all. And he says, yeah, and since you won't be there to bail me out, I'll make sure not to overdo it.
That is genuinely cute. Good job. I'm glad we're doing that. Please don't push her into the background from here.
Anyway, she's not coming on this mission, remember? So,
I know. But neither are Jackjo and those dudes. So
that's true. This is a very different group that we're working with. It's not like we've just abandoned one character. Yeah. So Sosuke and Kiyoshi meet up with Shuten and Mr. Tosaka. And so they're getting set to head out. Mr. Tosaka heads over to Sakaki before they leave, however, and says, like, hey, I just wanted to thank you for saving my life 10 years ago. It's because of you I was able to keep on being an exorcist. And I'm sure you probably don't even remember doing something like that. And Sakaki's like, of course I remember. You don't need to thank me. Yeah, I remember, like, yeah, you were weaker than the other exorcists, but you were trying to protect them. If anyone should be saying thanks, it's me. Because thank you for taking care of Kiyoshi during that test. He might be strong, but he's still a kid, so please continue to take good care of him for me. Aw. Yeah. That's nice. So now the four of them head off to try and find Shishido. And the first place that they go to is a random grocery stand. And Sosuke is like, why are we here? But they head inside, and immediately Shuten grabs a hanging bundle of bunch of bananas and pulls it down, and it causes a trapdoor to open with stairs leading to a basement. And both Tosuke and Kiyoshi are like, "What? This is weird." And Tosuke's like, "Yeah, you get used to it." Before they go any further down, Shuten opens up the closet and brings out some cool matching jackets for everyone to wear.
Everyone's got their team jackets,
which are to actually help them not stand out in the demon realm, because he says, like, yeah, lots of like demons like just look like normal people, but you'll stand out. What'll give you away is your smell. These will cover up your human scent. But Shuten does not put one on. He says, "I'll be fine." He gives everyone rules for how they should behave while they're in the demon realm, which is don't draw attention to yourself, do not leave anything behind, and don't get involved. Which sounds like just don't draw attention to yourself again, but but he says, like, look, don't rely on others, rely on your wits and intuition. You guys are going with us to the demon realm, so you need to play by the demon realm special forces rules. We are an elite intelligence agency consisting of 5 people and 1 trainee, and if we screw up, it endangers people on the surface. We have to avoid that. We're on our own in the demon realm. No one's going to come and help us. You are responsible for yourself. So gives them the serious talk, and then they summon this thing that lets them go into the demon realm, and they've given sunglasses to Kiyoshi, and he's like, "Why do I have to wear these?" Because everyone knows your face in the demon realm. You're too infamous.
Yes.
And the entrance to the demon realm is a phone booth. Of course it is. Everyone shoves inside, all 4 of them, into just this regular telephone booth sized thing. I tried to figure out if the number that he dials has any significant meaning. I could not decipher any meaning from it. Look, you put numbers in front of me, and I immediately goes like, "What does that mean?"
I'll say I spent significantly less time trying to figure out what team the CPT was in Blue Box. I was like, Charlotte, Portland. Now I'm done. I give up.
The Charlotte Portland,
the Charlotte Portlands, Nick.
Charlotte Portlands. They head down to the demon realm, and yep, there they are. That building has a face. And violence is very much welcome here. Just as like a regular part of life, murder is a regular part of everyday life. So they see this huge guy stab a kid into the ground for, freaking walking in his path. And Shun says, like, "All right, let's go and find Mr. Shishido." And of course, like, Kiyoshi's not going to leave this kid and suffer. Of course not. He immediately breaks rules 1 and 3 and stops the giant demon from beating up the kid. And they're like, "God damn it, what is he thinking?" But we cut away from there immediately to a whole bunch of beaten up demons and mysterious chained up figure who just says, "God, normally you'd offer a guest a meal, wouldn't you? Man, I'd really wanted to go to my favorite idol's concert."
Yeah, it's Shishido, I assume, because we found out he didn't get to see his idol's concert, so makes sense. He's seeming cool. The reason I say it's like a One Piece, this is a very Luffy moment, and this is an artist that used to be an assistant for Oda, so it just makes sense why that inspiration's there. But this definitely felt like a Luffy moment of being like, all right, now we're in a different culture, so whatever you do, you can't get involved. We have to be quiet. And then Luffy immediately makes himself like the target to stop some kind of act of bullying or something like that. It's like, keep that spirit alive and well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. We got Marriagetoxin. Yes.
Yeah, chapter 141. Kiyoshi has just been through it. Not Kiyoshi, sorry. That was the last character. Garo has just been through it. And as he is on the fringes of consciousness, he thinks to himself, should I have really gone through with this whole marriage journey? And he thinks about all of his love interests. Quinn, the 6 girls he's dating, and Kinosaki, he's like, but look at this cute page of like better times. Everyone gathered together in this cute 2-page spread. I love how everyone's reaching for the ring among the girls, except for Hikaru, who's just kind of like cupping her hands, like maybe it'll fall here.
Yeah. What if it just bounces off of everyone's hands and into mine?
Kinosaki is the last person that Garo thinks of before he suddenly wakes up as he is walking down a hallway. A dark hallway, and he's being shoved through it, and then he emerges into a fighting pit. What's going on? Well, apparently he's going to fight the axe user, Sakinosuke Nibukawa, who is very large, and they're both wearing these like almost looking like snake
collars. Yeah.
And there is an MC who is there who looks like a monkey, and he has a monkey with him. And he says, "No rules, no favors, no special equipment, just a pure, no-holds-barred battle to the death. Ready, fight!" And Garo is being like, going like, "What's going on?
What's happening? Where am I?"
He instinctively reaches into his prison garb, seemingly, to try and get some of his poison tools. And he's like, "Shit, I don't have my toxin. I don't have anything." So he gets chopped in the ribs, spits out blood, it gets knocked into the ground, and the axe user is coming in, getting set to beat him the hell up, as the monkey user announcer says, "Our challenger may be from a top 5 family, but he looks to be in a tough spot without his doping." And Garrus just says, "Yeah, I don't need that for you." He hunkers down, endures a barrage of chops, and then basically he Sherlock Holmes the guy. Discombobulation. And he's just like, yeah, if this guy puts his all into every single attack, he's going to leave an opening eventually. And he does the equivalent of cross-countering him by just kicking him right in the stomach when he follows through on a big miss. And that puts the guy down instantly in one go. So everyone gladiator style demands that Garo kill Sakinosuke. Even the announcer is saying, like, "Finish him off!" Even the Axeman says, "Kill me." And Garo, there's so many ways that you could play this moment. And he just looks over his shoulder while walking away and goes, "No need for that."
Yeah.
What a badass.
Very, very simple and sweet.
He leaves, holding his side because he did get chopped in the ribs really hard. And of course he goes like, "What the hell is this place?" But before he can really get an answer, he stumbles across 2 of the Axeman's brothers, companions. They're also axe guys. And they're beating up this creepy-looking dude. So they're doing that, and they're saying like, "Oh, we saw you laugh when a bro got beat." And Garo just comes up on them and says, "Hey, douchebags, get out of my way."
He's big mad now.
So he proceeds to walk on without this guy, but the creepy-looking guy says, "Hey, ya boy, PK, never gonna forget this debt." Oh, that was a mistake, saving him, Garo. He calls himself ya boy.
It's your boy. PK ain't never gonna forget that debt, Nick. Don't you want to have a friend like PK?
He calls Garo Big Boss Garo, or Big B for short. So Garo's like, "All right, fine, this guy's following me." And he says, "What is this place?" And it's the Sanctuary. And we get a look of the rest of this arena, and we just look up and up and up and up and up at floor after floor after floor after floor of prison cells. And PK says, "Surely you heard of this before, Big B. The infamous specialist prison, dreaded more than death itself." And we get a moment very similar to the end of Kiyoshi, with a figure in shackles surrounded by dead people.
A lot of bodies, certainly. A lot of bodies. Yeah, it seems cool. This is a crazy cut, though. I did not guess after he was saved last week we would suddenly have Garo be like transported into a prison, but it makes sense if this is maybe some like intentional training arc for Garo. Like, hey, you've got to like learn to rely without your poisons and get stronger, and then like your poisons will like amplify you or something like that.
Yeah, I was also thinking the same, based on how last week we were kind of like, "Oh yeah, training arc is coming up." It's like, well, in a way, I guess.
Ninja is noting that it is the beast user from the arc, the disposed beast user. Nick, it's new Exorcist.
Chapter 116, a king-size trial. featuring a color page of Nodoka that I actually think is very neat and stylish with her pose and all the cabling coming off of her. Yeah, so there's the whole thing where she's supposed to marry Gakuro, who has just told her, like, oh, there's like all these other girls too that I kind of also have to take care of, yeah. But she has an idea, which is how Gakuro can obtain her power without engagement or my consent. I don't know why she puts it that way, because it sounds like she is giving her consent when she's offering this as an option to him. But so Gakuro goes like, okay, yeah. And so she starts to explain, and then Nue is like, I haven't been on screen for 5 pages. I need to explain things. No one else can explain things but me. And she jumps in and she gives the explanation. Fuck Nue. I hate her. So the idea is just to kidnap the princess. And Gakuro is like, oh, but that's a crime! And we'd be making an enemy of the entire Exorcist Bureau! And the head of the Exorcist Bureau is just like, no, it won't be a problem, it's fine. Yeah, you know, like this girl who is like a keystone to an entire division for healing our soldiers, a very essential quality that she was reluctant to step away from at all. And she's like, it'll be fine, there's no issues if you kidnap her fully.
Nah, it works just fine either way. Who cares?
I mean, she does bring up, like, this was actually her suggestion, so clearly it's not actually kidnapping in that regard. Like, it's, like, willing kidnapping. The other is, like, you've already won trust from us because you defeated a Hyo. So the higher-ups will be angry, but I'll explain to you to defeat the Hyo, and that'll be fine. And then Captain Suga comes in and says, like, well, there is a point, though, which is that I and the other captains will stop you. And Nodoka's like, what? People keep on fucking showing up into my private chamber. There's way too many people in here right now.
That is a kind of funny joke where it's like, yes, private chamber is getting invaded a lot recently.
The head of the Exorcist Bureau also brings up, like, she's also seen as the goddess of recovery. So her personal guard is outside. And they're, like, big fans of hers too, which Gakuro's never had to deal with at his normal ass school. So yeah, everyone's like, oh, okay, it's gonna be fine, I guess. So Gakuro goes, I'm very sorry! I don't understand any of this! Which feels great exploitable image right there. Just crop out the little bit of Nue chiming in, and then you got a great exploitable response thing there. But she explains further by saying, like, okay, so we've prepared an extra large trial for you, and we want you to get through it. So if you manage that, then the Bureau will acknowledge you, and then you'll get the princess's power as well.
He already beat Hyo! Why does he need to keep proving himself?
No, he beat the Hyo in order to prove that he has the opportunity to beat another Hyo, Quinn. But
does the Exorcist organization itself do any exercising, or is it just Gakuro?
I'm sure they stay in shape somehow.
Oh, that was a good bit. I can't. I'm going to let you have that one.
Thank you. So Gakuro's like, yeah, okay, I get it now. And the head of the Exorcist Bureau is like, all right, so take the princess. And Nodoka's like, oh, hold on now. I did make this suggestion. I did not say I was going to cooperate. And she says, I've always felt for myself. I've always made my own decisions. And I will see your power for myself as well. And she unleashes her hollow weapon, which makes it seem like she's, like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a pose that is indicating what the story says it's indicating, is all I'm going to say. So the floor warps around her into this kind of hand-thrown thing. And the head of the Exorcist Bureau explains, if you want to kidnap the princess, you have to catch her first. And the hand immediately flies out of the room carrying Nodoka with it, so Gakuro's got to Xenodark and go after her. So they race off. Captain Suga comments, I guess I'll get started too. And the head of the Exorcist Bureau says, don't worry about holding back. Ooh. So as Gakuro is chasing after Nodoka, she's configuring the entire building. It's some sort of infinity castle, Quinn. Whoever thought of such a thing? And so Gakuro is thinking, like, this is the power of someone who supports the Exorcist Bureau's infrastructure practically by herself. I really can't see myself reaching her. Just go faster. You can travel through shadows. Just go faster.
Also, uh, what is her power? Is it to heal people, or does she literally just control the building?
Yes.
I know it seems to be both, but like, I feel like they're almost underselling how important she is. She's not just like their healing squad, she's also like their house. Like, if she leaves, like, where do they go?
It'd be impossible for her to be their healer if she weren't also controlling their house, because
Yeah,
you can't get better if you're sitting outside. That's ridiculous.
absolutely not.
Because Gakuro doesn't have enough ways of going faster, he calls on Yozoro's power, and so her demon head thing appears in the back of his blade and goes Gah! And launches him forward, which I feel like would actually be fun and cool if we could see it. But man, is it crammed into these panels when he does it.
Yeah.
He almost goes like facially contacting Nodoka, so when he flies up to her, so she gets flustered immediately and is like, oh, God, you get way too ahead of yourself. And the idea of trying to make everyone who said that they love you happy, you should choose one. That's how these things are done in Japan. And Gakuro goes, well, I can't do that. Well, explain. I stole their purity. And Nodoka interprets that, you know, the way you should interpret that line, honestly. And she's like, what the fuck? What? What? You did what? And Gakuro is, of course, just talking about, you know, the times that he got a kiss, accidentally touched boob, those moments, you know, where he did accidental shonen harem protagonist things. So he talks about those, about how it happened, like, oh yeah, one time when we were buried alive under a building, and then there was one accident where I was trying to break up a fight at the beach. And I do love Nodoka's line, which is, how exactly do you break up fights? That is fun. Right.
Yeah.
So she's like, holy shit, if that can happen with this guy all the time, am I going to lose my purity by accident during this? Dear. Oh dear.
I mean,
Captain,
sometimes when you call out to fate, it happens. You know, this is really maybe on her.
maybe a little bit. You know what? It is actually her fault. You're right, Quinn.
Yeah. She's willing into an existence when you say this, though. You know, you got to know what kind of series you're in.
Captain Suga shows up, breaks through a wall, and it goes after Gakuro. And he's like, you're not going to get one bit closer to the princess at this point, but because Gakuro is distracted, he has accidentally touched boob again. Oh, how could this happen to Gakuro? So
it's not like, it doesn't even mean anything. It's all just like, God, I really wish it wasn't.
Captain Suga gets really... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Captain Suga gets really, really pissed off. Is going to murderify Gakuro, but he goes into his Ichimaru Gin face, gets out his sword, and he says, die. Building is wrecking around, a whole bunch of them. There's a really weird joke where the fan club guards before had all gone, we kill you dead! And now they're outside and they witness this destruction, and someone goes, oh, let's get out of here! And when someone else says, hey, you're forgetting to talk like a caveman.
Yeah, that's one of those jokes that must not translate or something. That I don't even get what they're trying to go for.
You can't subvert expectations if expectations haven't been properly established. Like, that's not...
Yeah, also, I don't even know which dude's talking here. Like...
No. Oh, man, Gakuro, what a great guy, though, because buildings are going to collapse on these guys who are, you know, her personal guard and could probably take care of themselves, but it's okay. He swoops around and protects them all, and Yozora comes out and helps, too. And so she's like, you know, takes on some big beast form, shoves them out of the way, and Nodoka is, like, very impressed by this, but she's like, I can't afford to get distracted. She uses her building warping thing as well. Stuff is happening. I don't know. Stuff happens. Like, there's a whole bunch of yelling, and I don't know what the fuck is happening during any of it. They go towards each other. Stuff collapses around them. Gakuro makes sure that Nodoka's okay and is like, you're not hurt, are you? And oh my god, stuff has collapsed around them. And Nodoka's like, how mortifying. He protected me before I could protect him. And stuff's collapsed around them. And then she realizes, my power isn't working well. What's happened? And Gakuro's like, I guess we got buried alive. And then she remembers, like, oh, right, there was one time when a girl lost purity because we got buried under something. Oh, no. And so Nodoka's like, oh, no, he's going to do something with me. Okay.
Cool, whatever. Like, it's It's just very dumb, and unfortunately not in the fun Noose Exorcist kind of dumb way. This is just like bad harem nonsense kind of malarkey.
Yep.
Akane-banashi, Nick.
All right. Story 176. What I should have my eye on. Akane recalls the advice from Master. It's Shinoda. Oh,
No, that's Mike Shinoda, right?
Nope. Hang on. Damn it! I was going to forget this guy's name eventually. I've been very good.
Snow. Shomei.
Fuck.
You let Linkin Park influence you again, Nick.
I did. Yeah, it is Shomei. Yeah. Yep, Shomei. So, look, I'm 20%. I was only 20% certain. Okay, so it's Akane thought that what Shomei was telling her was that just having like a well-crafted work of art, and that was having sight. But she now understands what she should actually have her eye on, and we cut to the audience view of her as she's performing, and as she's just giving her like introduction to the idea of like frugality and stuff. And it zooms in on her and zooms in on her and zooms in on her, zooms in on her eyes, which are reflecting someone that she had her eyes on before, and then zooms further in and zooms in on her image of the guy as she is looking at him. And then her image pans back as she's giving this explanation to take in the entire audience, and pans back until her view is taking in herself from behind. And all of this is reflected in her eyes in a truly gorgeous full-page spread.
Yep.
We get a little flashback to when she had run into the journalist back in Europe. And she said, like, yeah, I saw you come in. It was right around the part I said about the top of the food chain when you got there. And she thinks to herself, everyone in this hall is making eye contact with me. It's like I felt when I was at Asago Anisan's debut. The expanding field of vision taken further beyond until I can even see myself. And what this allows her to do is she has a mental image of how she should be performing. And because she is seeing herself, she sees the disconnect between what she wants to do and what she's actually doing, which means she can preside over all of it and align them until they become one. And Shomei is observing this, and the gears of the watch click smoothly into place. And with that, Akane says, all of it to guide you deeper into the story. Shomei thinks to himself, the sight is the art of objective observation, as laid out by the great now writer Xiami in his treatise on the arts Kakyo, the eyes that stare at oneself whilst upon the stage. Sight outside of sight. Those eyes are creepy when they're behind Akane. They're too detailed.
No, it's like the eyes in Great Gatsby, Nick.
Yeah, those aren't creepy at all.
Yeah, no. What did they symbolize again? I read that book and I forget the point of it. Capitalism was good, right?
So, Shomei's summary is that Rakugo is an art about imagination. So we rouse the audience's mental images and draw them into the story. As the craft is honed and polished, and the information conveyed becomes more dense, the depth of the world we describe increases. And we get another image, this time from another audience member, of Akane performing, and she's going back and forth in a conversation for this, story about someone being very frugal, and she's going back and forth between characters. And as it's happening, the image of her starts to flicker until instead of Akane in front of the doors on the stage, it's the actual people. And the people gain more focus and are sharper. And then the scenery behind them changes. As one man is talking, his wife appears in the background. Then the house that they're in front of is in the background. As they're negotiating over coins, the string of coins actually appears. The street in front of them appears as this one audience member is in the foreground taking it all in. And because people are like so engrossed in this, they just kind of like all start like kind of like naturally laughing at all of the, you know, little jokes that are in the dialogue.
But not, it's like a subtle laughter. Like no one's like, ah, everyone's like, like they're all like chuckling. Like not like, you know, like, oh, it's not funny, but like, it's like everyone's very muted in their reaction. And I wonder if that's Akane's way of getting around the, you know, no making people laugh condition.
Mm-hmm. And we close on Ken, who, of course, we established last time is, you know, watching all of this as he says to himself, this is impressive. Will you reach what becomes beyond vanishing? So this was a very cool chapter with some very, very, like, bizarre and engrossing visuals. Out of everything that is running in Jump currently, no series utilizes the medium these kind of moments better than Akane-banashi does in terms of utilizing the medium of manga to tell you what's going on. And it's fantastic.
Yeah, I really am enjoying what we're getting out of Akane here. There's been a lot of build up, like what was going to happen, and like this paid off all that kind of build up, I think, pretty well. This is, like, as you mentioned, really elegantly told of this exploration of what Akane's sort of site actually is. And yeah, super enjoyed it. Really, really fun chapter. And Nick, it's time to wrap this one up. We have just One Piece left. One Piece chapter 1161, A Song of Love Bound Under a Hail of Arrows.
What a weird title.
Cover page of Yamato paying respects and all the characters who passed away, essentially in the story, and a couple people that I don't know. I don't know who Mar is. Cut back to the God Valley incident. You may have forgotten, Nick, we are still in the story Loki is telling. Currently, Loki nor Harold anywhere involved in these scenes. Loki,
No giants are even close to this island.
I think Loki's just spitballing some ideas at this point.
He's just sharing his fan fiction right now.
We see what various big figures are doing. So, you know, Rogers is like, we gotta find Shaky. We see Zebek, who's like, I gotta find Tech. Where is he? And then we see Garp, who's like, I'm coming to find you, Rogers. So a lot of cool stuff going on. Cut over to Dragon running away with these babies when some mysterious figure sneaks out and shoots him with a laser she fires out of her mouth. So that's interesting. This is Saint Maffy. She's one of the Holy Knights. She has horns in her head and kind of looks like Page One, or Page One a little bit.
She reminds me of Doflamingo quite a bit.
She has a lot of influences on characters. We might also just be at the point where One Piece has kind of used up a lot of character design, so we're seeing similarities repeated.
I was like, God damn it, there's only so many aesthetics, and I have 3,000 more characters to introduce before the end.
No one made you make 10 of these knights, god dang it.
What?
Yeah. So Dragon gets taken down, drops the babies at this point, and St. Maffy picks one of them up and is like, Garland had a kid, who would have thunk it? Can't imagine who'd want to kidnap the brat. And Dragon's kind of reaching for the kids. He's like, no, these babies, I have to atone for my sins. I have to help these people. But he's about to be killed. And he just thinks, you know what? Considering all the people who have died here, I probably deserve to die too. But his execution is held off because Whitebeard just cuts St. Maffy in half, kind of accidentally. They're just trying to like
trees in my way.
Yeah, he just had to kind of clear room, but we see that the Rocks pirates are showing up, so it's Whitebeard and Big Mom and I forget the lion guy's name, Shishido or
Shishi Golden Lion.
Shishi the Golden Lion, yeah, and someone else, Kaido is also there as well. So they all get to do a big cool team attack because they bicker at first, but then they're all really, really strong. And Dragon takes this moment to be like, I've got to get the babies. But he notices one's actually right in front of him. And we have a moment where Garp shows up. Shiki the Golden Lion, yeah. And there's, he's attacking, he's blowing things up. The Rocks Pirates are going to get going. And even Big Bomb's Big Fireball means nothing. We get this cool line where Garp's like, you call that fire? You couldn't kick prime rib with this. And really burned him there. For some reason, there's a very important scene where the Holy Knight with a hat shoots some people. We don't know their name yet. But the most notable thing that happens on this is actually a very clever bit of translating. St. Maffei has picked up one baby, and it says, well, the kidnapper's got to be dead now. Baby's possessive. Fine. Safe and good. Is that it? And the other person online says, baby safe and sound? Plural. Perfect. Come back. So, fun little miscommunication that explains why St. Garling's second child escaped here. And that's what happened. Dragon is scooped up what we know is Shanks. And he's like, hey, I may not be able to save your brother, but I can at least save you. Basically, there's a run-in. Everyone's trying to get to Shaky first. They all know where she's going to be held. When Summers is like, what's going on? Why has this prisoner been transferred off yet? We see that it's because Shaky, even handcuffed, is still too strong for these regular grunts. She's taken them all down. But Summers is just an evil asshole. So he's like, oh, I hate women who know their worth. You're better when you're naive, and slaps her. He's just a complete scumbag. But
I'm the worst.
Yeah, really is. He hits her with one of his bats made of thorns, and basically is really hurts her with that. And he's like, oh gosh, you're alive, but if you're just gonna wind up like Garling if we do that. So actually, the more emotional choice is to kill you to make sure no one else can have you then. So it looks like, everyone's getting kind of clogged up. People are trying to kind of fight over themselves to get to be the ones to save Shaky. But there is, I don't know if it's intentional because there's the sound effect of peak, but there is a moment where Roger's like, darn it, I can't get through. You gotta get Shaky. So it looks like things are really bad. Like Summers is legit just going to kill her at this point. He's even taunting. He's like, the hope in your eyes has finally gone out. But then Raleigh sneaks in and says, I'll put flowers on your grave to send you off. Hits him with this big attack, and then comes and picks Shaky up, and she cries and embraces him and admits that she was actually really terrified there. So the end of the chapter.
Very cute. There's a very cute moment when they're reunited, because there's the callback to the previous chapter where she left him the note of come and get me, and he just says, I've come to get you.
Yes.
That's actually really good.
it is a good line. And the end of the chapter is Roger saying all right, well, we got her back, so let's just grab some stuff and get out of here, basically.
Yeah. Giants now, please.
Look, I don't hate this. I actually kind of like this because before I really didn't think too much of the Shaky Rayleigh relationship at all, but I do actually find there to be somewhat of a sweet emotional core there. That's nice. I do, again, I know we had to get this, but this is really strange to think about in context where you're like, does Loki know all this? Isn't this a story he's telling?
Yeah, well, that's it. We've gotten through all the manga for this week, so thank everyone for enduring all the delays and stuff. But before we were able to sit down and talk about it, Quinn, can you tell me what your favorite chapter and who your MVP is this week?
Yeah, I think my favorite chapter is going to be World Trigger, and my character is going to be, I think, Akane from Akane-banashi. I've been kind of building up in my mind that moment of what is Akane's new storytelling technique, and this was definitely satisfying.
Yeah, I get that. I think that my my favorite series this week is going to be Akane-banashi. I think that it's for all the exact same reasons. But I would think that I was just more kind of focusing on the whole execution of it as opposed to just what it meant for Akane specifically. My character of the week, I think I'm going to go with, oh gosh, his name is really weird. It's like St. Charles something or other, Saint Germain.
Saint Germain.
Saint Germain, yeah. Because very unexpectedly hilarious in this week's chapter of Dandadan.
Yes, very much so. Before we get to, I guess, our next recommendation and everything. Oh, the audience, by the way, picked
Audience picked,
Ichi
yeah.
the Witch as chapter of the week and Akane as character of the week.
Mm.
We did want to note that there is going to be a podcast package coming out very soon. I don't know the exact date yet, but I mean legitimately probably sometime very, very soon. It is going to be coming out. And there is, I believe, 5 bonus podcasts available for this. And it is a variety of different topics in there. And Nick has one that we did together that he does a deep dive into. I don't know if how much you want spoiled or anything like that.
That's up to you.
I mean, the picture that your incredible wife drew is going to obviously show that it's going to involve the El Dorado movie to some degree. So yeah, there's going to be some stuff like that. Just keep an eye out. And I think, yeah, I guess we can wrap it up. I just wanted to mention that before the very end.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna definitely want to push that to people.
Yeah.
Let them know when it drops. But in the meantime, if you guys want more Weekly Manga Recap stuff, you can see it on YouTube, youtube.com/Weekly Manga Recap in video form, where we have an opening sequence by Marriagetoxin and Wensleydale Cheddar. And occasionally title cards by Steve Man, whose work you can find by just searching for Steve Man Art. But it's also available in podcast-type places via weeklymangarecap.podbean.com. It's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, all that kind of stuff. And by the way, the bonus stuff you can find on patreon.com/weeklymangarecap. We also have a Discord server, which you can find linked wherever this gets posted to. Through that, you can also find the Google Doc that keeps track of all the stuff that we have covered on the show and may cover in the future. Ask us questions, make suggestions for future manga for us to recommend, and all that kind of thing. We are on social media. On BlueSky, it's Rolo T, Nick F. Time, and Weekly Manga Recap. And also WMR Votes, if you want to keep track of when the votes go live to make your opinion heard on who the MVP and favorite series of the week should be. And in terms of what we're going to be covering next, hang on, I saved it on my phone, so I got to make sure I say this right, because it's a kind of funky title. Fucking load, you stupid. It is Furio Taimashi Reina, aka Delinquent Exorcist Reina, which has been pitched basically as like, it's an Exorcist series, but with a bit of a twist. So we're going to be doing ghostly shenanigans to start off Halloween month in proper form.
Nice. Possibly nice to read a good Exorcist series. I guess Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi is an Exorcist series. In my mind, I'm just like, it's just new Exorcist. All right, well, I guess that's going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap, Nick.
Yeah, I think it is.
Do we have everything we want to say? Anything spooky? Do you have spooky things you want to tell people?
I never have spooky things I want to say, so let's just move on. We're done.
Oh.
Yeah.
You don't like spooky things?
I feel like I've made this very apparent in the years that we've known each other.
I know we don't like horror stuff as much, although I've started to enjoy horror movies a bit, but like, does like a jack-o'-lantern with a knife through it like not do anything for you, at least a little bit aesthetically?
Just because most of my shirts have skulls on them doesn't mean that I'm like, ooh yeah, spooky stuff.
It's weird. It's an interesting disconnect.
It's not actually. They're different boxes.
They're different aesthetics. That is fair. Because like, you know, a Motorhead album would be in your aesthetic, but like a Marilyn Manson wouldn't.
I think that's fair, yeah.
Okay, good to know. I feel like I know you a little bit better now today.
Okay.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.